Good evening, guys. Good to see you. Hey, Ace. Good to see you again, ma'am. And Jill, Prepper for the Ages. Good to see you. Hey, guys. Good to see you. We will see you. We wait for a couple of more minutes and wait for more people to join. I have the fan on because it's freaking hot here. We have at least, I need to check what the temperature is for today. 17 degrees Celsius. A little bit too much for me, but it is what it is. I hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, I need to shaving, actually. Hey, Norfolk. Good to see you. How are you doing? We wait a couple of more minutes. I'll let people join before we get into today's topic, which is smart home dumb outage when your tech turns against you. That's the topic for today. How are you doing, Norfolk? I hope you're okay. Yeah, I know that feeling, Norfolk. Hey, Liselot, good to see you. It's 5 degrees Celsius here at the moment. Have the wood stove going. This time of year, well, if you need your wood stove going, well, it's a necessary thing to turn that one on. But 5 degrees, that's quite low for. Yeah, actually, it was nice and quiet, as I like it. Seems like CR sent us an Arctic blast. Yeah, probably. Thanks, Jill. My birthday was at Thursday, so that was the missus passing by in the background. Hey, Alan, good to see you.
How you doing, mate?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. Exhausted, but I'm doing pretty well. It has been a rough week for me.
Yeah.
Too much to do at work. Oh, Lord.
You were no live last week?
No, I got a headache.
No.
So I didn't feel that well. Migraine.
Ah, nasty. I've never had a migraine, but I've known people that have had them, and it doesn't sound
Trust
good.
me, it's not fun.
No, I've had a bad headache, but never a migraine.
Uh, Migraine is really awful, actually. Thank you, Vay. I appreciate it. Yeah, Verna, I agree. Migraines are the worst. Oh man, that's horrible. So I put that in on my community tab that I said I had got a headache. So
Yeah,
so that's why I didn't went live last week. So
I was doing some mountaineering, hill walking last week, so I wouldn't have been able to jump on. But I switched onto my phone to see if I could listen in, but nothing was on, so I just assumed that you had something
yeah.
else on.
But Alan, what do you think about this topic? Smart home, damn outage when your tech turns against you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, a smart home is a good thing to have. I think. I mean, I've got lots of smart appliances. I think the real danger, though, is in becoming overly dependent on them, because most of them only have one point of failure. Really, when you think about it, a lot of our smart
Yeah,
tech is connected by basically the Wi-Fi.
yeah,
You know, and if the Wi-Fi goes down, then whatever smart tech you've got that's dependent on it then isn't functional. And you know, if
and
you're
you get your
dependent,
food spoiled in your
yeah,
freezer and your
yeah.
fridge.
I mean, it's so strange as well because I mean the kind of smart tech I've got things like cameras and you know, a couple of motion lights and things like that that are connected via Wi-Fi to my phone and stuff. But some people have got like locking doors that are connected to Wi-Fi and there's no key.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, so I mean, potentially, if that goes down or gets hacked or something, you could be locked out of your house or locked in your house. You if you rely on security cameras for your security and who you know, let's say somebody's looking to burgle you or break in or something, if they know you're dependent entirely on the Wi-Fi, then all
yeah,
they have to do is jam the Wi-Fi, you know, in order to immobilize those cameras. They don't even have to get to the cameras. They could just cut your Wi-Fi off completely, which is just a cable outside usually, you know. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, pros and cons. I think it's great though. I mean, uh, as preppers or survival type people, smart tech can
Hey,
be
Guardian.
really useful. You know, it can be a really handy thing to have.
Yeah,
And I'm not a technophobe. You know, I love technology, so um, I try and get the latest stuff and look into it and things like that. But I am careful not to be overly reliant on it. You know, I mean, you just have to ask yourself if you literally cut the breaker in your house, you know, the
yeah.
switch, how much of the things in your house would still be functional, and for how long?
Most of it.
Yeah,
Most of it.
yeah. But I don't think that's the case for most people though. I think a lot of people now are starting to go down the you know the smart hub type route where a lot of things are dependent on it.
Yeah, and those fridges and freezers. They, I see that pops up a lot more smart fridges and
Yeah,
smart freezers, and they when and they notice if you have begin to run out of, let's say, milk or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
cheese. It
yeah,
sends an notification to you. You need to go shopping, or it sends it straight to the store, so you get your milk that way.
yeah.
But I don't get it. Why have that? I never understand that really.
No, I mean, I think I draw the line at smart fridges as well. I've seen them. I think Samsung do a really good one, and I think LG is the other one that do them as well. But I mean, I draw the line at my fridge telling me what to do. You know, it's like, I mean, who needs that really? I mean, I can tell when the milk's about to, you know, need I need more milk because I run out. I don't need the fridge
Yeah.
to tell me that. I think, I mean, I think those fridges.
Hey Diana, good to see you.
I think if the power went down or the Wi-Fi, you know, connection to the internet or whatever, I think they still function as a fridge. You know, it'll still keep the stuff cool and your freezer will still work. I think, but
Yeah.
you know, it's just a case of if you have a power cut, well, then you've got a problem with your refrigeration. But there is a reliance on it that I think it makes people lazy. I mean, this is the thing. It's like I don't know about you, but I like to sometimes just deliberately unconnect, like disconnect from the world. I don't. I would like to walk the dog in a park without a phone in my pocket. You
Yeah.
know, I don't have any tech with me. I'm just walking around with the dog.
Let's say if I'm going camping or fishing, I have my phone with me
Yeah,
just in case, but I'm not looking at it at all. Maybe one or twice, nothing more.
so something I was doing for a while was like I take my phone with me as well, and I'll go into like a woodland area because I plan on camping there for a couple of days or something. I'll take my phone, and once I get to the campsite, I take a screenshot of my, the pinpointed on the map of where I'm at, and
Yeah.
I'll text that to, whoever I want to know that this is where I'm at, and
Yeah,
this
you
is the
take a
day I'm coming back.
screenshot
Take a
from
screenshot,
that
yeah.
and
Then I,
text
then I,
it.
s- then I switch my phone off and I put it in I either switch it off or I keep it on, but I've got these little Faraday bags,
Yeah.
so I don't need to keep switching them on and off. I think I've got one lying around actually. Um, yeah, just a little bag that you put your phone in, and it prevents signal getting to your phone. It just
Yeah.
cuts you off a little bit from the world because you don't need it. People are lured into the false belief that they have to have a phone for an emergency. What emergency? We went perfectly long without having a phone. And is there any emergency so likely that you literally have to be connected to your phone 24/7? I don't think
Yeah.
so. You can check in with the phone. I'll switch the phone off all day in the woods, and then sometime around when it gets dark and I'm having a cup of tea, I might take a look at it, but I deliberately don't like scroll through social media. I just look at it and then maybe send a text, and then I put it away again, and then I
Yeah.
set an alarm for the morning. But I just use it like that. I don't. The second, if you're sitting in the woods because you want to be part of nature, and you're sitting there doom scrolling TikTok or whatever, you're not
Yeah.
doing it right. You're doing something wrong, in my
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I definitely agree. Smart homes in general. This topic is based this on a realistic scenario.
Hmm.
So smart homes, mm, I'm quite skeptical to those because I can what I can understand is surveillance cameras. I can understand that, but if the rest of your home is smart, you tell the house turn on the lights.
Yeah,
It's so stupid. Why should you do that? Like, when you have a switch on the wall, you can just turn on the
yeah,
light.
yeah. And it encourages laziness. It encourages you to be overly dependent on something like that. And do you know the thing is, right? I mean, we all think it's a new thing. Everybody thinks, "Oh, my phone, I can switch my whole light on, with my phone." I tell you what, way back in the bloody 70s or something, they had a clapper. You clapped your hands and the lights came on, and
Yeah,
it was a bit of a thing back then, I think, for a while. But the reason it never caught on is because people realized, you know what, this is just stupid. If I want to turn the light on, I'll just get up and turn the light on. If I don't, then I don't. At what point is there where you are sitting on the sofa or something and you have to think to yourself, well, you know what, I want the light to be on now, but I can't lift myself from the sofa in order to just go and press it on. This doesn't make sense. And even like if you're in bed and you've got the light on, well, most people have side lights for that. That's why you've got a light at the side of your bed, so you don't have to get
yeah,
up, turn the main light off, and then trip over something on the way back. So I mean, it's a lot of smart tech. I think is just because the technology is available. Companies and manufacturers will try and produce things, but they're producing things that nobody actually needs. They'll try and sell you on it, but you don't actually need it. Kind of like the fridge. Nobody needs the fridge to tell you when the milk is running out.
no,
And I don't think it'll ever catch on. I think, you know, you might end up with a fridge with that function, but you probably switch that function off.
Yeah.
You know, because it would be annoying, especially if it kept malfunctioning and bloody Amazon's sending you milk every other day. That would just get on your, you know, your nerves.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I mean, I'm not against smart homes. I do have some smart tech in my house, not a lot, mostly just, you know, CCTV, and I've got Wi-Fi, and I've got some things that are, you know, wireless and stuff like that. But I wouldn't really consider, you know, I wouldn't consider my house to be a smart house. You know, it's not a smart tech house. I'm not wired up completely.
My apartment is definitely not a smart apartment, but this technology begins to pop up more and more every year, basically.
Yeah. I think it's popping up more and more though, because the technology is getting better and better. Do you remember? It used to be a time. It wasn't that long ago where Wi-Fi, you know, was very slow. So, you know, if you ran one thing from your Wi-Fi, you couldn't really run anything else after that. But now Wi-Fi is so good, you can have 100 things connected to it, and it's still pretty quick. And that's why the technology is saying, no, you have to have 30 things connected to your Wi-Fi at once. You know. Oh, hey, Guardian.
Hey, Guardian.
Hey, good evening, Chad.
How you doing?
How you guys doing? You right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Have you got any smart tech in your house, Guardian?
So we surprisingly are on the other end of the spectrum to this, where we've experienced for about a decade, 10 years of load shedding, where the electricity was intermittent. And because of the electricity power outages sometimes occurring for about 3 to 4 hours, twice a day, 3 times a day, we very much get used to running off gas stoves, having candles around, enjoying everything except for technology and electricity for the most part.
See, because electricity supply is, like you say, intermittent in South Africa, or where you are in South Africa. Does that mean you've paid more attention to things like having a generator, or you know, a power bank or something like that, or solar? Have you considered that? Because the technology for that's getting much better now.
Everything I do regarding technology for any outdoor adventures or anything like that all revolves around solar. I'm actually an extreme solar enthusiast because of the capability. I still find it fascinating that we can harness power from the sun and turn it into electricity. It's a very like basic kind of acknowledgement that we can do that, but I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And even with fire starting, using magnifying glasses, again, using the sun's power, but, you know, just being able to guide it to start an average fire. And then just technology around the house. Yeah, it's quite amazing at what you can get away with when you get used to not having the electricity and the power. But I think that this topic specifically, it's an extremely interesting one. I think that this is by far in like the top 3 topics that you've had, Shadow, for the last year. This is absolutely one that I love to bits, because we are getting closer and closer to an age where we are much more reliant on technology to, you know, to help us live our daily lives, and it becomes such a norm for us.
Yeah, I tell you what,
Yeah,
just
and
wait.
the problem with the smart houses is you get so dependent on them.
Mhm.
So when everything runs out, let's say if the grid goes down for a long period of time, those who live in those smart homes will get panicked because they have no idea on how to cook food or anything else. So that's a considerable vulnerability that needs to be closed, basically.
And you know what's just around the corner as well when it comes to the smart home stuff? The introduction of AI smart homes. So these smart homes aren't just going to be wired up so that you can order milk and, you know, the lights come on if you ask them to and things like that. They're going to be connected up to AI, and the AI is going to be monitoring you 24/7, and it's going to be, initially it's going to be sold as, what it's doing is it's trying to sort of feed off your mood and what it thinks you want based on habits and things like that. and it's going to try and set the agenda for you, to help you. And then, it won't be long before it's basically dictating what you do around your own house. I remember years ago hearing a thing about Bill Gates when he designed his house, like this super expensive house. And obviously Bill Gates was like the Microsoft guy, and so he had the latest tech. And apparently he had it set up so that you could walk into a room, and based on his mood, it would dim in the lights and play music and display art on the wall, just based on his mood. And it would change. And it would change as he walked through his gigantic house or whatever. And, this was a long time ago. This was like the 90s or something. So tech has astronomically moved on since then. So I can't imagine what Bill Gates... Ironically, I think Bill Gates' house is probably less connected now. I think he's probably unplugged a lot of that stuff, for various reasons, including security. Because that's the other thing. It's a huge security risk.
Yeah, it is. You can have the most advanced security, most advanced smart home in the world. But the problem is, if you have the right knowledge, the right gear for it, you can basically hack that system. And in that case, you're basically screwed because you cannot do anything about it.
Yeah. Just reading some of the messages as well. Like, Gaz Madkilt, he says he doesn't want appliances in his house that are any smarter than him, which apparently isn't hard sometimes.
Okay.
And, the French thing as well. Yeah, if my fridge started speaking French, French to me, I would boot it right out. Can't be having that. But luckily, I think Samsung's Korean. They're the pinnacle of smart fridges.
Yeah, if you see the way that technology is expediting and becoming more available, your mid to high level technology that's available for the general public is consistently improving, and it's improving at a rapid rate. If you look at the different, even on a business and a company level, and that trickles down to the commercial sector as well. But if you look at the way that companies are kind of encouraged and enforced to have all sort of, smart technology that can pick up on everything, and then just, I think in the average home, even if you look back, the technology that we have access to right now, as opposed to 50 years or a century ago, we definitely look at what we're faced with.
Walters, good to see you.
Hey, welcome into the chat, Walters. Good to have you here. Yeah, it's just a phenomenally interesting time.
If I can just interrupt, my opinion is that with everyone having smart homes and AI and everything integrated like that, the fact that we're already at the levels that we're seeing now, seeing people go into AI psychosis and not be able to do simple things without it, the fact that we're making it more and more a part of our just everyday, like you guys were saying, the clappers used to be turn on the lights, something stupid like that we're almost forcing that to be our norm. Children these days are so used to that type of thing happening, saying, hey Siri, we recently went to go visit Guardian's cousin, and his house is quite set up with is it Alexa, baby?
Yeah, it's Alexa. Yeah.
With Alexa. So his kids can ask Alexa to play music and stuff like that. But his kids wouldn't be able to actually operate, the hi-fi or something like that. They only know how to ask Alexa, and it's
well, the older one will be able to do the hi-fi.
Maybe.
Definitely.
I don't know.
No, they're smart like he is, though.
Sure.
Have you ever seen those there's a couple of YouTube videos going around where they pass relatively young kids and young teens the old phone, the one where you have to sort of put the number in by spinning the wheel.
Yeah.
They have zero idea how it works, and they're looking at it like it's a bloody artifact from Indiana Jones or something, eh? And they're pushing on it and things. They don't get the whole concept of spinning it around, and it's weird. Yeah,
back in the day,
it dumbs them down.
Get kids that were very tech savvy. I I went to school when I was in primary school. I had a friend who was so good with computers, like the teachers would come and ask him if there was like a major problem with something that they couldn't figure out. They'd come and fetch Sean and be like, hey dude, can you figure it out? But these days, like, kids don't even know how to do like Excel, for example, you know, stuff like that, like functions of a computer that we used to be very familiar with. It's almost like we got to a certain point where everyone was getting better and better and better, and then now we got into a point where it's like gotten so easy to automate it or ask, you know, ChatGPT or Grok or whatever to do it for you, that people don't know how to do it themselves anymore.
Yeah,
that could just get like worse over time. Sorry, go ahead, Alan.
I was just going to say, yeah, we're getting dumber. The smarter the tech gets, the smarter AI gets, the dumber we will get, because you know there's lots of reasons for that. Well, I mean, think about it. It's just like you know what your wife was saying there. It used to be the case that you could bring a problem to a kid and they would have a solution because there was a mechanical mechanism for trying to work it out, even if it was something like basic programming. But the second you can like say to ChatGPT, what's the answer? Tell me how to program this. Tell me how to write this code. You then no longer have, you know, the understanding of all the joined up things that you have to do in order to reach that conclusion, because that's happening in the background. And so you become dumber because you basically have an Oracle machine telling you what to do. You know, it's kind of like people who use sat navs to navigate around but don't know how to read a map. They don't know how to navigate.
I read this study that they did where so like if you type a word wrong in ChatGPT or even like on WhatsApp or whatever, right, it will correct it for you, or like ChatGPT will still understand what you mean even if you spell the word wrong, because it kind of uses the rest of the sentence as like context, right? But the thing is, back in the day, or not too long ago, not so much back in the day, people would see, okay, that's a word spelled wrong, and they'd actually have to correct it. But because of that, they keep making the same mistakes. So like people, if English is their second language, they misspell a word, they will continue to misspell that word instead of learning the correct way because they have to correct it. You know, it's like with mathematics where you have to like actually practice it to get better at it. And people aren't doing that because it's intuitive, so it can kind of come to the conclusion of, oh, this is what you mean, without you having to know it. So you don't ever actually have to ask a question properly. You can even be like, how this work, you know, and it'll be like, oh, okay, this is what you mean, and then give you an answer. So you don't even know how to like properly prompt it, essentially.
Well, I'll be devil's advocate on this topic because I think that is true. I think that we are unfortunately leaning more on technology than we should be. However, I will say that the up and coming generations and the people in our modern world today have access to a phenomenal amount of information when it comes to just the broad spectrum of information around either, you know, history or technology. We don't always utilize the information and the knowledge in the way that we perhaps should, but we absolutely, if you had to look back, for example, take an average 20-year-old right now and compare an average 20-year-old to a 20-year-old from, let's say, 2 centuries ago to 200 years ago. Sure, they knew the basics of math 200 years ago, maybe even more efficiently, and then maybe knew, you know, orienteering perhaps a bit more.
You can't read, man.
No, but those same high school kids that can't read would be able to explain to you things about the world today that wasn't information that was.
I've looked at. This is the thing. We get into these conversations all the time because I watch things when he doesn't. So I've got information oftentimes that he doesn't. But there's literally, I feel like if you look, even we've discussed this, like kids these days, like the younger generation that started to work, like they'll give you this, what it's called the Gen Z stare. It's like the most blank, dumb expression where they like don't even know what you mean. They just don't even respond. And it's hilarious that that's becoming worse. It's not improving.
I don't know. I think that could be sometimes that the question is so phenomenally like pointless that they don't feel the need to maybe even answer. So they're just like, why am I even having this conversation? And that's maybe the stare we're seeing. That's why I say,
Maybe.
you know what I mean? Like, there's so much to it. Also, just for the record, like entirely, my wife and I, for 15 years almost, we have had in-depth conversations about this type of topic that you raised tonight, Shadow, and many others. And even though we'll have like debates, you at home need to realize and absolutely understand that we always have like a deep level of respect and be able to see things eye to eye. So even if we do disagree on something on panel, it's not just about it turn into some dramatic, fallout or something. We just are always like this with one another.
Any minute now, we're going to hear the coffee cups getting thrown at you or something. Oh, you're wrong.
He's going to make the coffee to make sure she's got a smile on her face.
Listen to me.
That's good.
So they will probably come up with a smart cup that you brew your coffee straight into the cup.
Not a bad idea.
I would not disagree with a coffee machine that I can yell at from a lounge and be like, "Make me coffee."
You probably could have that
right now, and I actually am on my way to go make us a cup right now. Sorry, go ahead, Alan.
I was just going to say, I mean, well, you probably could get a coffee machine to do that nowadays if you connected, something to it. But there is something to be said about, like, when you were mentioning that
good to see you.
Kids have got access to a phenomenal amount of information now, more so than they ever had at any point in history.
Yes, exactly, brother.
They have it, but I don't know if they're utilizing it either. I think they know they have it, and that makes them lazy to not have to look into it. Why do I have to read a book about something if I can ask ChatGPT if I ever need to know that? That kind of thinking.
And that's what they're doing. They're like, I've watched these clips about teachers who talk about how children are using AI in school, and what they do is they are just literally telling AI to write an essay for them, like as a 13-year-old or whatever. They're not actually like reading the thing or understanding the concept of like writing it and like getting your own thought, like almost processing your full thought by writing it out and really thinking about it. Like, they don't have that. It's like a stepping stone that they're missing, so that they can get to the conclusion of like, oh, this is it, but they don't get to the how they got there. So they're like missing that whole part. It's amazing to me, and I look a lot into it because, of course, I homeschool my daughter. So stuff like that is very important to me, as to how I can better prepare her for the future, especially with the way technology is improving, like for her to utilize AI in an effective way rather than using it to help to like do the work for her, using it to help her do better with her schoolwork. So it's something that's important to me in that regard. So that's why I've paid a lot of attention to the shortcomings that children experience because of it.
Everybody wants immediate, instant gratification.
Yeah,
they all want instant gratification now. It's like I don't have time for this. Just, hey Siri, blah blah blah. How do I do this? What's the answer to that? Everybody just looks it up online now. They're just, I can't really, you can't really call it lazy. It's more, this is their new norm. But unfortunately, if something ever happened and there is no more Siri or whatever, they're not going to know what to do because they won't be able to ask anybody. I mean, you got doctors and nurses now going to college and having ChatGPT write their thesis. They don't even know what's in it.
Yeah.
Jill has a question, actually. In the future, will there be the modern equivalent of the Highland clearances to use the land and water for data centers for profit purposes and not for the people?
The technology is currently improving at a rapid rate when it comes to our capability to minimize the size requirement for processing and for general CPUs. Computers are getting smaller and smaller and more efficient over time. So there's a possibility that if we do start really breaking through the technology kind of roof that we've been seeing for a while, if we have to break through that ceiling and have a lot more capability to utilize computing in a much more. You've got to remember that it wasn't so long ago that the same size computer that you might have like in front of you, or that you may have in your work office, like a regular desktop computer tower, the same power that's in that used to, not so long ago, have to fill an entire room, and it was called mainframes. And a mainframe was like the same computing capability. In fact, the same technology that is now narrowed down to your mobile device would be the same requirement that had for an entire room. Now, if you look at that and analyze where we're going within the future, it could absolutely be that we wouldn't have as much of a big requirement on technology using so much water with the data centers, because we can use technology to build better technology.
Yeah, and do you know, I think it's entirely plausible. Just quickly with that question, you know, whether we see Highland clearances type things, and yeah, I think that is the case. I think we will see that. I mean, I know it's kind of funny that you say that, because not far from where I live, literally a half an hour drive from where I live right now, there's a relatively small town, and there's a proposed plan to build a gigantic data center there, which will consume an enormous amount of energy and water. I don't think it's displacing anybody at the moment, but by the fact that it's going to be there, that will then limit how many people can then live there or grow crops there, because the carrying capacity of that town will be greatly diminished due to the fact that the large amount of energy and water required that would otherwise be used for people will now be used to feed some data center, which might not actually be for any benefit of the people here. It might be to feed, I don't know, a call center that's for somewhere in China, you know, or Japan, or somewhere else in the world. So I think we will see things like that.
No, nobody even talks. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I just wanted to say on that, they're also apparently like the data centers and those like setups they do are like very loud, like industrial level noise.
Yeah, nobody talks about why. What are they storing? What data do they need to store that they have to build so many trillions of teraflops of storage data and AI and all this stuff? They're like, oh, it's for AI. For what? To tell me how to write my thesis? No, I mean, you hear them talk about in the past, and yeah, I can put a tinfoil hat on, whatever, you know, the Internet of Things. Well, what is things? I don't think they're talking about your washer, dryer, stove, and microwave. I mean, there's some interesting topics going around out there that I'm not even going to get into here about the Internet of Things. And they need to control everything. They need to be, you know, they want to catalog every tree, branch, blade of grass. How do you do that? Why would you do that? You need trillions of teraflops of storage data and ridiculous speeds of computers to do that. But
hey, Uncle Al, good to see you.
Who's going to be in charge of it? The computers? So I don't want. My washer broke down last week. Again, there's a little plastic hub in the middle that always seems to go bad, and I buy like 4 or 5 at a time. I put one in like every 6-8 months. If when I put stuff in there, I pulled it apart and I looked. I was like, oh great, it's not this hub that keeps going bad. It's the splines that are in there that are worn out because they're in a wet environment. So now I need a transmission for it, which will be cheaper than buying a washer. But now I'm looking at washers going, everything is hooked up to Bluetooth, can communicate with Siri, can it's like, why do I want to be driving down a road and tell my washer to wash my clothing for me?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I put it in at night or when I'm home, and then in the morning I throw it in a dryer. I have a mechanical dryer, fortunately. The washer has some electronics in it, but as little as possible. I don't want a smart fridge, smart anything. I don't want a smart meter on my house.
That's because that's not the real reason for it, really. I mean, I don't think it's very tinfoil hatty to suggest that the companies who are developing this kind of technology to do things like work out your average plan for a day and see how often you go through milk or how often you turn your washing machine on or do your laundry.
And they could tell with the smart meter by the frequencies that all these devices put out, because they all have computer boards that come from some other country, and they can tell, I have a smart meter, so I pay less at night. Well, yippee do. But they can also tell that your refrigerator's been running nonstop for 2 weeks, and send you a notification. Hey, there's something wrong with your fridge. It never shuts off. Shut the door.
Yeah, I mean,
how would you know that? I mean, they know this is what all this data stuff, not all of it, but a bunch of it's for. You know,
Yeah.
you use your microwave too much this week. Sorry, we have to shut it off now. And they could disable it. I mean, it's frequencies through the that's been around forever. They can send frequencies right through your electrical system. Everybody thinks it's just voltage, but you could do a lot of stuff with that. They've been doing that for a decade or more.
They're harvesting data. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And
for what?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they know. I mean, I think the people who are harvesting the data are, you know, the tech companies. I mean, that's they. I know everybody likes to say
they don't know why. They're just doing their job to get a paycheck.
But they're doing it because they don't know what the technology of the future will be. So there's a massive rush to simply collect everything because they know data is valuable. They just don't know why it's valuable, but they think at some point in the future, if they have enough of it, well, then they own it. And then if somebody develops something in the future where the data becomes useful, they then have a product they can sell. It's kind of like you come across this amazing new plant, and you don't know what it is, but it looks kind of cool. It has no function. You don't know what it is, but you know how to grow it or harvest it. So you just harvest a bunch of it all over and over and over again in the hope that somebody figures out a cool use for it. You don't know what the cool use is because that's not your specialty. Your specialty is just in growing this cool plant that you've discovered or whatever. You know, it's a terrible analogy, but the point is that, you know, they don't know why they're harvesting it, but they know that they need it because the product of the future will be based on it. You know, it was like the old saying with Facebook. You know, Facebook isn't giving you something that you need. You are the product.
It's collecting everything you got. Yeah, it wants to know. It's got pictures, facial recognition, everything of you as a person. So it sets up a whole profile. Mm-hmm. And they can use that for you, against you. They all say, well, it's to send targeted marketing and advertisements. No, it's not. You don't need a trillion teraflops of data to send me a mail or an email or something that says, hey, have you seen this new latest greatest washer machine? And now everybody's computer is going to give them ads for washer machines if they got Facebook on their phone now because I'm talking about it.
Yeah. But I mean, a fridge that harvests your data might also be feeding, you know, a company your eating habits, and from that they can predict whether you're a particularly healthy person or not, and maybe that health index can build a profile of what kind of person lives in that household, and from that they can base that on what kind of health insurance you should have, based on the kind of crap you eat in your fridge, you know, and you can see kind of endlessly where it would go.
Every transaction you do, you go to the store and you use your credit card. Everything's on a computer there. It's all because that's the inventory and all that. So it knows that you know, Shadow just bought, you know, 2 cans of beans and a bag of pasta and some kind of tomato sauce, and that's in the system. It saves it forever, and it knows that you bought that, and then it sees you doing the same thing over and over again. At some point, they're not going to use it to say, oh, you need to exercise more. You really think they care about that? I don't.
No. And I mean, not so long ago, we would have been accused of being very tinfoil high for even sort of bringing this stuff up. But then Snowden happened. And all the stuff that people used to say about data collection and the mass collection and the mass surveillance of individuals, purely for the purpose of harvesting the data so it can be, you know, nefariously used against you in some way, turned out to be true. So who's the bloody idiot here, you know? And we're allowing it to happen by inviting even more of this tech into our households. You know, it's like we see something like Snowden take place where people, governments around the world are harvesting data like emails and telephone calls and text messages. And what's our solution to it as a culture, you know, as a Western society or Westernized societies, even like South Africa? Oh, it's to invite more of that crap into our house. Let's put cameras in every room of our house. So, but only I can see it, of course. Really?
Of course, just like
I'm pretty sure
Gmail is free.
I mean, and I've got it. You know, I've got cameras in this house. You know, I was gifted this one today actually by Scottish Prepper 73. Top guy. Check out his Facebook page because he gets these to review. And I love technology. But I'm careful about it. I'm careful about how I use it, and I know it's being used against me. So you need to put things in place to realize if this gets turned on me in some way, how could it be turned on me, and how can I disconnect from it? You have to be disconnect. You have to be able to have a kill switch for your own stuff. Not literally, but you have to be able to unplug.
I don't think it's a matter of how is it going to be turned on, but why would it be turned on you, and who's going to make the decision as to why they would need to turn that. There's so many questions and no answers that nobody even asks the questions. It's not the, oh, this is cool, and how did they make this? It's like, no, why did they make it? Why is it doing this? And what is the final product outcome for them? Nobody knows, or somebody knows, but it'll never go public until it's too late.
The bigger question that I find myself asking quite frequently is, where is the future heading, and what type of future do we want? If the technology continues to improve people's lives as they've promised that it will, that could eradicate all of the diseases that we face across the world. It could eradicate a lot of the viruses as they start to arise as well. We could see impoverished nations completely, like poverty eradicated across the world, which is something that we want. And we can, speak about things like this and say, that's just, hopeful thinking in that, but it's genuinely not. If we look across the world in the way that technology could improve things, we could absolutely see a much more beautiful and grandeur world than what we are now experiencing. And I think that if we can start getting behind that and curing the problems across the world, and even things such as WAR that occur, I think that there's so much wastage occurred across the world when there are nations that are combating one another, and behind a future that's ahead of us, I think that we could potentially eradicate that and start to all be on the same page globally across the world. And I'm not just speaking about global first world, like world war order and stuff like that as well, like new world orders and whatever. But I'm genuinely speaking about technology coming in as a saving grace and protecting people against the problems that they're facing now. Because here locally, I see a large amount of suffering. I see a lot of people that have no option at all. There's nothing that is out there for them. But how could technology kind of improve that? Could technology get to the point, and I've mentioned this quite frequently, where we are able to really get a hold on agricultural technology that makes sure that everybody can be fed, everybody can be warm, everybody can be housed. We are so primal in the way that we're living in 2026 that you'd expect that with the phenomenal amounts of expenditure across the world on things that are such as WAR, can't we just be looking after humanity first rather than fighting each other based on stupid things like that are on the surface, like ethnicities, cultures, religions? Like, shouldn't we be uniting more across the world? And I think that technology could bring us to that place. It could give us more of a cultural understanding and a depth to us that we currently haven't seen, because humanity is...
Or a common enemy.
Yes, or a common enemy. Exactly. Yeah. Humanity could do with one of those.
Yeah, I mean, see, like you, Gardy, I'm quite an optimistic person. I'm generally the optimist, and everything you just said there, I'm kind of on board with. I mean, I genuinely do think that not only should we be aspiring to those things as a human race, but technology could absolutely help us get there. It could push forward a lot of those things, and technology's done a vast amount of things for us throughout the entire evolution of the human species. There's no doubt about that. It's our greatest achievement, really, is the technology that we have. But I mean, if I'm going to play devil's advocate with that kind of stuff, then it really does then become a case of at what cost, though. At what cost do we put all of our faith and hope into technology in order to solve the problems of the world?
Give up your freedom for a little bit of safety, and they've been doing that for
but the thing is, I mean,
forever.
And a lot of the problems that we're discussing there are man-made to begin with. There's no reason for human beings, with the current level of human beings in the world right now. What are we at, about 8 billion or something like that? Let's say there's 8 billion people in the world, and we know there's people in the world right now starving to death. And yet we know there's places in the world where people die of obesity more than they do of starving to death, like the West. Okay, but there's not a shortage of food in the world, so that's a man-made problem, and we don't need technology.
But they spend trillions to make more technology and they tell us this is to help this, but they could have. Bill Gates could have solved, all the starvation in Africa with the money he's got. Period. Would have been over, done. But will he do it? No, he's just going to keep investing looking into it. It's like, no, you're not. Where's the money really going? What are they really doing with it? I mean, there's so many questions. Yes, I can have a negative aspect on a lot of this. I don't trust any of it because I don't know who's responsible for being in charge of it.
Well, I mean, that's my fear with AI. There's so few people actually in charge of it. Do you know you could probably break it down to about 13 people in the world, 13 super tech billionaire type people. These Silicon Valley types, the tech bros or whatever. These are the people who are basically running the world when it comes to
the people with
technology.
the tech and the people with the money. You know,
Yeah,
how many
yeah.
families in the
Well, the
world
money
have
comes with
so
your
much
tech.
money you have no idea. No, it's the money that's there already, the old money that they can invest and do whatever they want, and nobody even knows because nobody can see that money. I mean, I can name like 5 families off the top of my head, but I'm not even going to give them the
Oh yeah,
credence
yeah. I
of giving
mean,
them their name.
you definitely get, you know, family dynasties and things like that. I don't, you know, people like Elon Musk is set to be the first trillionaire in the world, and I think his father was relatively wealthy-ish, but he wasn't super wealthy. He wasn't, you know, when Elon Musk left South Africa, he wasn't a millionaire. I don't think. Now he's damn near a trillionaire.
Look into what his father really did in life, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I do, yeah. I did hear something about what his father was up to. So I'm not fully up to speed with it, to be honest.
So
But he didn't have a good relationship with his dad.
yeah, that's the other side.
His dad, I think his dad owned like part of an emerald mine or something like that, if I remember correctly. But he didn't have a good relationship with his father. Like him and his mom were pretty close. And he moved with his mom, but not his dad. His dad still stays here, if I'm not mistaken.
I want you guys to imagine this for a moment, all right? And I want you guys to put yourselves in like the shoes that us as South Africans are in. So say, for example, there's somebody from wherever you are, maybe in the world, and wherever that may be, such as South Africa, it's a country where there's a lot of crime, a lot of corruption, there's a lot of like gloom around our country. And when we've got somebody that's out there that's doing like phenomenal things, and yes, you can say it's not his things, or you can say it's the companies that are doing the thinking and heavy lifting for him, like it's undeniable that he has done great things irrespective of what a person wants to see it as. And then when there is that one individual that's out there that's doing these things, and it seems like the whole world is against him, it feels like extremely sad for myself when like people, instead of ever really highlighting the good that he is doing, they just, and I think, and unfortunately, I believe that a lot of it has to do with jealousy as a humankind thing. And I know that it's not just jealousy, but if people have to like analyze themselves on an individual level, I think that people would absolutely see that we need more Elon Musks out there, maybe not with the same political standpoints or personalities or whatever the case may be. Like, we need the world to progress and to move forward. And it really sucks to hear as much hatred on Elon Musk as much as possible, and then be somebody that shares the same nationality as him. And then across the world, whenever you're speaking in the more modern day, it's like, oh, you're from South Africa? Oh, like Elon Musk. Like, it never used to be like that 10 to 20 years ago when I was actually really close friends with a lot of Americans. I've always had a vast amount of American friends, and the way that I could associate with Americans was so much more easy like 10 to 20 years ago, before Elon Musk became like what he is today. So it just is really unfortunate that even somebody that is absolutely doing what he is out there in the world, like everybody just seems to...
You get painted in that same negative shade.
You really do. And it's most unfortunate. So I just imagine for yourself for a moment that you're a person living in South Africa. There's a South African out there that's doing what Elon Musk is doing, but the whole world seems against him. How would that make you feel personally? Is I have to ask you that.
Hey, I get it. And see, I don't, if that kind of came across as anti-Elon Musk, I'm actually probably kind of pro Elon Musk, to be honest. I don't agree with everything he says or thinks. You know, I think he's a little bit crazy, but I think money and fame has made him that way. I mean, I don't think he started off that way. I think that happens to you over time. I mean, you can't be that wealthy and that powerful and not be a little bit crazy. I mean, who knows how I would be if I had just a couple of extra grand. But yeah, I mean, I can kind of see the point of, yeah, here's a guy getting a lot of negativity and I share a nationality with him. I don't know if his nationality matters that much, to be honest. I mean, I might be saying that because there's not very many famous Scottish people in that sort of world. You know, there's a couple of actors, and that's about it, I think. But you know,
no, it's like everybody in America seems to talk down about whatever they hear on the news, say Europe or whatever's going on in Europe, and then the people in Europe talk bad about whatever's going on in America. Everybody has their own. They can only talk about what they hear and see on the unfortunate news, and that's all they hear about. I mean, it's like, oh, this country exploded stuff over here in this country. It's like, okay, great. Why? They won't tell you why. They don't tell you all the details behind it. They just show a picture of a building in rubble and go, this is what the whole country looks like. No, that's like one building, but okay. What about the people themselves? Most of the people are like, what the hell's going on? Why are you doing this to us? Yeah. They don't know. I mean, they say if you got all the money in the world, what else could you possibly desire except control over people? And that's where my mind tends to go with this whole Internet of Things and all the data centers and all that stuff. It's like they already got everything they want. They don't need to worry about, I need to save up to buy a new car. They just order 20 of them and they don't care. They don't even need a car. They have drivers. And then they're just like, well, I'm bored now. I got everything I need. I'm totally bored. What do I want? Oh, I want to control my neighbor. I want to control people. I want them to do my bidding. I mean, that's where I think about this stuff all the time. And yeah, it's probably a lot of the stuff I watch, but I watch both sides of it. But that stuff sticks.
Yeah, it's the having the wealth and the stuff eventually will lose a lot of meaning to these kind of people who are enormously wealthy. You know, it doesn't matter if you're driving the absolute latest Bentley. If you've done that for the past 20 years, it just becomes the norm to you, and you're not impressed by it anymore. Because I always wonder why people like Elon Musk even bother getting out of bed in the morning. I was like, why bother working so hard? Just live a fantastic life with your wealth. I mean, that's kind of what I imagine I would do, but I imagine that would be enormously boring for him there's only so many times you can float around on a super yacht or fly around first class before you start sort of thinking you've seen and done everything. So for them, it becomes about power and influence and what they can do and how they can make a name for themselves in the world. I don't entirely think his nationality matters that much, to be honest. I think that's just a product of just America. I mean, a lot of people immigrate to America because America is one of the few countries in the world where you can leave a country like South Africa, which, as we know, has some problems, but then become a trillionaire, in just a matter of a few years. Now, it's possible to do that in Europe. Americans seem to, from my narrow view of how Americans think, obviously I don't really know that, but from my narrow view of how Americans think, they seem to think America is the only place in the world you can do that, which obviously isn't true. We have billionaires in Europe and Britain and things as well, but America genuinely is a place where a lot of people do tend to migrate to in order to do great things because they have more freedom to do it. And somebody like Elon Musk has gone there. I think he was involved with PayPal originally and stuff, and he sold that and he went on to other things, and it just cascaded from there. And he's became the man he is today, and he's doing incredible things now because of where he's at. It's not
But he
because
also
he's
realized that in the same way that he's made some of the decisions that he has. And look, I get in the comment section, in the chat section, a lot of the responses there I've seen many, many times before. It's not new to me. And I don't mean that as like an attack in any way. I'm just saying that, like, trust me, I've seen enough of all of the kind of rhetoric that's like out there about how Elon Musk is bad and, down with the rich and all of these type of things. And I don't identify as the same as him because we share a similar nationality or because of those type of things specifically. I just identify with a person that is a driving force behind some of the more modern technologies and innovations that could make the world a better place. If we are the only spark of intelligence in our known universe, and if we potentially are at the beginning point of our own demise and destruction on this earth, do you not think, as an individual that is self-loving, and hopefully each of you are listening to what I'm saying, do you not think that it is most beneficial for us to try and preserve that light and that glowing spark of intelligence throughout the universe? And the exact same things that Elon Musk is trying to do right now is to try and preserve that, because do you know what? Historically, people have been extremely destructive. And the only way to know what is happening and to what could happen in the future is to understand what has happened in the past. And if we do end up doing something to this earth, sure, we can try and save it in every way possible. And I'm all behind that. But it wouldn't be bad to have a contingency plan. And I'm sorry, it's like on the same side that I do feel personally attached to the amount of attack and to the affiliation. It's not me that makes that affiliation in accordance to the nationality. It's the other people that are busy scrutinizing Elon Musk and saying, oh, South Africans and oh, this. And like, it's just
It goes back to South Africa's dark history, which unfortunately we can't escape. Like, I can't help that I was born here and that we have the history we do. That doesn't mean that I played any part in it. I was literally born after 1994. After Mandela became president. But unfortunately, when you hear about white people in South Africa, it is unfortunately just under that same shade of like, oh, racism, because we did have a very, very like awful apartheid system.
And I hear about it every day.
Yeah,
Every day it gets thrown in our face.
Because Elon Musk's from here, they like to bring that up to prove like, oh, he's a racist or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's not like we take a personal attack. It's not. It's just it's something that I suppose is a bigger part of our reality, you know, because we are from here. But yeah, I don't know. I saw someone make a comment there that he's a fraud and he's evil, and although he might not have like the best ideas all the time, I don't know. He's definitely been a net good, in my opinion. The fact that he kept Twitter like as a safe place for like everyone to have their opinions, be they good or bad. You know, that free speech is out there is definitely a net good, as well as like, you know, with the Teslas, the self-driving and like eco-friendly cars. That's brilliant. We need more of that. And if we don't have someone like Elon Musk out there trying to improve it, we're not going to get the better batteries and the better like eco cars, you know, electric cars that
are better for the environment. Yeah.
Where we're not constantly like mining fossil fuels and so on. But you know, that's also of course a matter of opinion, and the information that you have access to builds a person's opinion. So that's what
I feel exactly what you're saying there when I hear, and I'll poke at Mike when Mike does this thing and all of a sudden they're talking about USA politics. I'm like, you really have, I can't get online half the time because I'm on my phone listening, and I can't like, you know, send them a message where I'm like, dude, seriously? Why are you saying that? And because that's what they hear on the news over there. So it's, you know, America bad from the European perspective. It's Europe is bad from the American perspective. It's China's bad from whoever's perspective.
Of course. I mean,
it goes around, it goes back and forth. And I understand where you're at. Yeah, you're there. I'm here. I hear things about this country. It's like, what are you talking about? You don't know anything, or you really are sheltered in your education on that.
Yeah, it's hard to find a person who's entirely worldly and entirely well-rounded in every possible subject of the intrinsic politics of each country, and that's why people dumb it down, because they have tunnel vision, and they obviously they have their own propaganda being fed to them as well. So they try and narrow it down to usually binary things. You know, what's your thoughts of Elon Musk? It's usually like a binary, I love him, I hate him type thing. And you can argue what the purposes of that are. If you ask the average British person what they think of America, I mean, you'll get different answers, but it'll be kind of roughly the same sort of thing. But it's a stereotype. What we're thinking about is a stereotype, just as much as a stereotype that people will hear my accent and come to conclusions about.
Yeah, you have a funny accent.
Well, it's all you guys. I have a normal. I don't have an accent. I know you guys have got an accent.
Yeah, but I got me an accent. Hey, I'm gonna bail for a little bit here. I'll be back, but I gotta bail real quick.
All right, Jeff.
No problem.
But I'll see you in a little bit.
Do you know Guardian? Or Guardian's wife? I can't remember which one of you said it now, but I can relate to the idea that yes, I was born in a country that has a particular history, and therefore I'm looked down upon in a certain way. I'm British. Trust me, I get the same sort of things as well. And you know what? Whenever I hear somebody online say something, well, you're British. What's your opinion about the slave trade? I say, well, you know, we ended it, so you're welcome. You know.
Exactly.
But that's a perspective of history that people don't understand, especially if they want to weaponize it against you. And to be honest, in my mind, a lot of people who use things like apartheid in South Africa to attack white people, or people in America or Europe, usually other white people actually, who use the history of Britain or the history of colonialism as a weapon to say you people are inherently bad and you have some sort of inherited sin. I think that's racist. You know, I think that's just a racist a way of looking at the world. I'm not responsible for anything my ancestors did. I'm not responsible for anything that happened in history. I'm not responsible for where I'm born. But I'm not going to apologize for it, especially when I understand the history to the point where I realize that, oh, wait a minute, actually, the history I'm being fed by, you know, this particular narrow view of something isn't actually true. There was another side to it. What do you mean there was slaves on both sides? There's white slaves as well. Is that true? Of course it's true. You know, what about the fact that Britain was colonized for many years, you know, at points in history by all sorts of nationalities. Does that mean I should demand reparations from the Italians or Shadow? Shadow, your ancestors invaded my country. Where the hell's my reparations? You know,
the
Vikings.
yeah. I mean, and you can go down that sort of rabbit hole forever, because the bizarre thing is all human beings originated probably in one place, somewhere in Central Africa, and we all sort of evolved and pushed our way out throughout the entire world anyway. So everybody's colonized everything at some point. You know, if you're a human being and you get to a piece of land at some point in history the first time, and you say, I'm the native of this land and my ancestors have lived here for X amount of years, and anybody who comes here afterwards is some sort of foreign invader, well, then you obviously just understand how immigration, migration, and the movement of populations work. Accept it, and there's nothing we can do about it now anyway. You know, it's just the way it is. And technology does put the problem. This is the thing, spinning this back around to technology is a great equalizer, because technology doesn't become about what race you are or what nationality you are, because technology doesn't care. Technology is worldwide. You know, the incredible innovations that Elon Musk has developed in the United States are felt here right now. I've probably got something from his company lying around this room right now, you know, if I look hard enough. Because that's a product of worldwide innovation. But there are, I mean, you can play devil's advocate with this stuff all the time as well. I mean, I could sing the praises of Elon Musk for all of the great things that he's did and advanced humanity along as well. But I could also point something out, like I could say, okay, yeah, Starlink is fantastic. It's literally connected the world. It's brung internet to parts of the world like bloody the middle of the Congo or the jungle or Brazil, or something that otherwise could never have got that just a few years ago. Yeah, but it's also been used as a weapon of war in Ukraine. You know, it's also been used as a political tool to switch off countries from having access to certain things based on whatever current political thing he happens to be following that day. Now, he might be right about that. He might be wrong about that. Personally, I'm not overly political, so I couldn't care less, but I can see why people will have a view on somebody entirely based on the one thing that matters to them. Do Russians think Elon Musk is a really top guy? Probably not, because he's using his technology against them in Ukraine. Do Ukrainians think he's a top guy? Yes, of course they do, because he's helping them. And that's the politics of today. The politics of tomorrow might be different. And the one criticism I will give about Musk, just because we were talking about him, and I actually do kind of like Musk. I like listening to him on Joe Rogan and stuff. But for years, he preached about the dangers of AI and how it could be the most dangerous thing in humanity. And I believe that as well. I think AI could potentially be one of the most catastrophic things to ever. I think it could wipe us out entirely. It might not. Hopefully, it won't. But I think it could. But he said he said that he believed that it was inevitable that AI would pretty much wipe out humanity. And then fairly recently, he threw all of his backing behind developing AI. And when he was asked about his hypocrisy, he says, well, you know what? I do think it is probably going to end the world. But, you know, it's better to sort of ride the wave than not be part of it. Now, that's just the same as saying, you know, it's better to reign in hell with my friends than be, you know, lonely in heaven type thing. That's the same sort of analogy. And that annoyed me a little bit.
So on that, the reason why he wants to be as involved as he is because he wants legislation behind and the control of it as well, that it doesn't end up in the wrong hands extremely quickly. And that's where it could go wrong in the fastest way possible, because not everybody has pure intentions. I'm not saying that he does. I'm saying that there are people absolutely that come from groups that would love to see the destruction on mass scale that AI, artificial intelligence, could potentially be behind. And it is speaking about the smart home dumb outage when your tech turns against you. It is very much in the same line as what we're speaking about as well. We can't imagine how dangerous it is ahead of us. But what I'm saying is that Elon, Elon's not the only one by any means. And also, I just need to explain, because whenever I bring up Elon and speak about this topic, I even further myself down that rabbit hole of being like, look, he's even defending Elon Musk, and he's South African. What a coincidence, right? And then it's like, how do I? I'm not Elon. Elon is not paying me. Trust me, I would.
Are you sure?
I'd be on a yacht somewhere. I'm telling you, I just genuinely think that we need more Elon Musks in the world. That's what I advocate for. I want there to be opposed, like people that potentially don't have the exact same narrative that he does or the same personality type, but that also are trying to innovate the world and create, amazing things out there.
Intelligence, like similar intelligence, like to be innovative, to invent and create things that don't exist now.
Like Neuralink, Starlink, the Boring Company, Tesla.
Yeah, but
things like that.
Do you not think
We need more.
Do you not think you've kind of hit the nail on the head? The problem is there isn't more of them to begin with. That is part of the problem, though. The fact is that all of this innovation, all of this power, all of this technology is in the power of one person. And if you count out the people in the world who genuinely have all of the power in the world, like I say, I think somebody calculated it's like 13 people. That's not enough. And, who are these people? And I mean, it's okay to say it's okay to have the legislation and the power in the right hands, but based on whose opinion? Is an Iraqi person going to think that Elon Musk has got the right political leanings to wield that kind of power, or somebody in Iran right now, or somebody in Russia, or somebody in Europe, or somebody outside of the United States, or even anybody in South Africa for this moment in time? The problem is it's too narrow. The power is too focused in one place or a few small places. It needs to be spread out a bit more. And hell, I'm not a communist. I'm not for the sort of, everybody should be equal bollocks. I'm just saying it's too narrowed into just a few people. I mean, what if Elon Musk just absolutely goes out of his mind one day and just decides, you know what, I'm going to switch sides. I'm just going to give all of my, technology, know-how and power and things to North Korea for whatever reason. Who knows? He has the potential to do that. He's more powerful than some governments, but he's not elected. And again, I stress, I'm not against Elon Musk. I like Elon Musk. I think he's funny, and I think his innovations are fantastic. And I genuinely think he's more of a force for good in the world than bad. But there are some bad. But I just don't think one person should be that powerful all of the time. There's nobody sort of reining them in. Who can rein in Elon Musk? Donald Trump? He's an old guy and he'll be out of power in a couple of years anyway, and then it'll be somebody else. And to me, that's just, it's not enough. It needs to be spread out more. We need more people like him, like you say, but I'm thinking probably for other reasons.
If you play a game of Monopoly, and this will be the same in every single different rendition as well. Also, Kim, if you'd like to reinstate the comment that you made there, I don't have any problem with it at all. I'd just like to hear more input. Good grief just seems a little bit negative. Just emphasize on what you were trying to say there. It'd be really interesting to hear what else you have to say on that. But what I will say is that regarding Monopoly, if you have a Monopoly game that's played over 100 times, every single time you play that game of Monopoly, and it's the quickest way to explain it, there will always be one winner that has all the properties. And unfortunately, within our world that we're living in today, that is exactly the case. So it comes down to life and itself being a game of Monopoly, and it comes down to luck. And yes, a lot of the powerful and rich people in the world have stepped on people to get where they are, and power corrupts, absolutely. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And I completely understand that. It's just that, I would like to see more innovation towards a world where we didn't have as much suffering. That's all I'm really advocating for right there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to disagree with that. I mean, who's going to disagree with hoping for a world with less suffering and less issues? But again, my biggest concern is the concentration of power, the concentration of not so much wealth. I'm not against people being super wealthy. If Elon Musk becomes a trillionaire in the next few years, then good for him, because he's earned it. He's done more innovative things than probably anybody else in history at this point. So absolutely, he should be worth $1 trillion or whatever it is. But it's the power that he wields that I think should be. I don't think it should be taken away from him, because I don't believe in that. But I do believe in people should be able to be held accountable by the majority, and the majority, I mean the sort of voting public, as it were. And there has to be more of them. He has to have competition. If you're very much a capitalist, then you understand that Monopoly isn't a game that's played by capitalists. Monopoly is a game that's played by communists, because eventually it ends with one victorious person who has all of the power and all of the wealth. That's not capitalism, that's communism. Capitalism restricts the game to a point where that becomes somewhat impossible, and the open free market of competition is what allows that to continuously develop. Because if we're going to use the analogy of the Monopoly game, eventually it starts off with 4 and then you end up with one person who's won the board and nobody else is playing. That person who's won the game has no incentive to do anything else after that point because they've won the game. But if there's other people there providing competition or a different perspective on how to do something, it pushes innovation further. And that's why we have regulations, literally anti-monopoly, legislations in place across the world to try and prevent that from happening. I don't think that's happening so much with Elon Musk because he's politically in the right place at the moment with the people who are politically in power. That will change in the future, no doubt, and so will he. There's been moguls in the past that have, media barons and things in the past that have wielded a lot of power, and they abuse that power. And then eventually their power diminishes because something changes. But the thing that changes is the markets, the pushback, innovation changes. Nobody cares about newspapers anymore. That's why the media barons have faded away to nothing, and now it's the tech bros who are the media barons of the world. And something in the future will change that will possibly push them off their pedestal. But there is also this other fear that maybe it won't. Maybe we are now at the end of the Monopoly game. Maybe we are now at the point where the next thing isn't human at all, it's AI. And the narrow amount of power and control of that AI system really does fall down to just one person. And to me, that's a horrible prospect. That's an apocalyptic type future, because I don't know who that person is and I don't know what their motivations are. It won't be anything good at my level, I suspect. And even if it is, even if Elon Musk, let's say Elon Musk became the most powerful man in the world and he was the only guy in town who had all the technology and all the money. Okay, fine. And he shared all my values. And I thought, you know what, this guy's amazing. He's vastly improving my life right now. I can guarantee that he's not going to improve the life of anybody in North Korea or Iran or any other country that he seems to be as an adversary. Because he has a different culture. He's in a different world. He's in a different circle. He's in a different part of the world, literally. So it might be good for us, but it could be bad for many other people. And that's why I would be more happy if there was an Elon Musk in every country of the world.
With similar viewpoint, with different viewpoints.
Yeah.
You're saying, yeah. And I think that's, the reason why, and I'll get into it just for a moment here as well. I think that's simply just Krista raised a good point. People should have freedom of speech, and we shouldn't be policing comments and stuff as well too much. And it's just the only reason why, if you had to kind of be a fly on the wall and realize the amount of scrutiny that we experience over here and the association with Elon Musk and that type of thing, that's where the negativity comes from, and that's where the defensive nature was. But that's why I mentioned as well, unfortunately, Kim actually just did over there as well, bring about more of what, the opinion was about specifically. And it's not like I have a personal attack about, on anybody. And it's not like I'm trying to defend Elon in that way, but it's more of a consistent thing that's being brought up the whole time in the way that it is. And I'm not trying to be his savior at all or anything like that. I'm just saying that with what he's doing, with some of the things that he's made in terms of innovation and technology, I don't know him as a person. I've never met him. He hasn't, there's no connection whatsoever that I have to him. And it's perfectly fine to have an opposing viewpoint to what my viewpoint is. That's what we should do as people. We should question ourselves and question each other. And that's the way that we're supposed to be able to grow. So I do apologize for being just quick about removing the comment. I thought it was a defamatory comment, just about something that I was saying. So I was more on the defensive about that, as every single person does at times. So I do apologize for that.
I try not to read the comments, to be honest. I glance at them now and again, but partly that's just because I find it hard to read and talk at the same time. I'm terrible at that, so I don't read the comments too much. But I can like I say, I understand the personal defensiveness of defending somebody who is the same nationality as you, especially if that's been used against you in a lot of ways. And like I say, hey, being British, means I get a lot of hostility as well. Being Scottish in Britain means I get some hostilities from my own people, you know, and other parts of the country and all sorts of things. People will always find something to use against you, you know, even if it has nothing to do with you personally. It just happens to be part of the place that you happen to be from, which we've got
Not
no
even
control
that.
over.
Not even that. It's also based on the fact that if a person wants to have a certain thing against you and they've made up in their mind that you are a
They just
certain
will.
way,
Yeah.
they will. There's no combating it. There's no argument in the world that I could have that would change a person's opinion if they view a person from the same nation and they, you know, in their mind, even on a perhaps subconscious level, they do that. And then, you know, simply just Krista mentioning there as well, you know, that everybody's going to be walking on eggshells because you are triggered by it, and that's wrong. I've been part of this live stream as well for the last 5 to 6 years, and I've been on here almost every Saturday for a good several hours. I've never deleted another comment, which should tell you straight away that it's not about a specific thing that you need to walk on eggshells, and that is gaslighting itself.
Yeah.
Like saying that all of a sudden that now we all need to walk on eggshells. If you feel like you need to walk on eggshells because of that type of thing, like, then I do it.
He literally admitted that he made a mistake and apologized. Like, what more could a person want?
And then there'll still be emphasis on, no, but I'm going to argue against this person, and I'll never be able to change or sway that opinion at all. And if that's if that's kind of the narrative that's being pushed as well, I don't have time to argue on the internet about simple things. I have an extremely complicated life, and I do a lot of good, irrespective of what a person wants to like paint me as in their minds. And I'm just explaining to you, and it's hard for me to explain something that another person isn't experiencing. So. Yeah, well, it's all good. You guys stay safe as well. I think I need to take a bit of a break from this. And I have been part of this community for 5 years. I have not seen your name before today, Kim. So if you are part of this community and you've just somehow, you know, haven't really been commenting much, and then this evening you comment, and then, you know, we've got this disagreement around Elon Musk, then there's not much that I can do.
You agreed that it's not a great person in like personality wise, but he's done good things. Like, it's not even a disagreement. You agreed with her. Jeez.
But no matter what I say, I won't win this conversation. And it's not even an argument to me, it's a conversation. So I do apologize if any feelings were hurt by my opinions as well, on Elon Musk of all things. And it's not the first time that there's been a sort of disagreement around this topic of Elon Musk. But I would like you to just take a moment and actually realize that there's so much more than just me saying, you know, something specific about Elon Musk. And this is a place where I feel that I can be comfortable about what I'm saying as well. And it's just, arguments online are just so trivial.
See, the thing is, Guardian, I'm just, as you're talking, right, I'm reading back on some of the messages, and yeah, it's just another person's opinion. So what? I mean, you know, just leave it at that. I mean, you've got nothing to apologize for. I mean, see, the thing is, it's often said to me on my side of these chats, you guys in the UK have got a lot less freedom of speech and things, and you have to be very careful about what you say and things like that. And, you know, to some extent, we do have a lot less freedom of speech. I mean, the government will deny that, but it absolutely is the case that you can be put in prison in the UK for saying something that somebody might be offended by or something like that. But the fact is that I don't hide anything. I'm never careful about what I say online, because everything I believe in and everything I think, I'm happy to say publicly because I think I'm right. You know, so, and I don't care if that offends some people. I absolutely will. I deliberately offend the French all the time. It's a running joke. I don't actually have anything against the French. I like them, you know, really, but I like to make fun of them because that's what British people do. But I'm not going to pretend that I have to adhere to everybody that's on the internet, especially in these kind of comment sections, because there's such a mixed bag of people. The only thing that people generally have in common when they come on these chats is that we generally all seem to be interested in the prepping community, the prepping world, survivalism, that kind of thing. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking about this stuff. I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about Musk other than what I read or see on you know, newspapers and things like that. So I'm not a scholar of whether he's a good or a bad person. I can literally only take a person by their actions and what they say. And there are things that some people will publicly say that I think, that makes you a bit of a bloody nutter, or I disagree with that, or I absolutely do agree with that. But I also recognize that those people are in positions of strangeness. They're in positions of strange authority. They're in bizarre. They're not like me and you. You know, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk and, you know, any other sort of big person in the world. They're not really living in our world. They're living in their world, which is a very different kind of world. And sometimes they will say things that are either a bit wacky or deliberately taken out of context, because people deliberately take things out of context in order to push an agenda. Do you remember the whole Elon Musk thing where he was doing the so-called Nazi salute thing? Now, it kind of looked like that, but I don't think that's what that was. And I don't think anybody who's actually watched the whole video and listened to him speak believes he's a Nazi. And if you genuinely do think he is a Nazi, I think you're either stupid or you're deliberately just saying that to slander him because you think that's a good way to slander somebody. But it was kind of ill-advised the way he done it, but that's kind of just that's just the way he is. It's the same with Trump. Trump's a binary person as well. You either really like him or you really don't. I listen to a lot of American politics because I'm kind of interested in it. I listen to Ben Shapiro every week, and he's a very right-wing type person, and he praises Trump endlessly. I also listen to Sam Harris, who's a very left-wing person, and he cannot stand Trump. And I listen to both arguments, and I agree with both of them. That's the problem. And I'll listen to a Donald Trump speech, and I'll think, and I'll sit there and I'll listen to half an hour of Donald Trump, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that, absolutely, yeah. What? No, that's just stupid. No, that's wrong. That's immoral. No, yes, I agree. And that's kind of the way I go with that. Does that make me an authority on how rounded that person is, or how well I know that? Of course not. I don't know anything about that guy. I don't know what he's like in private. I don't know what he's really up to in the background, whether it's good or bad. We can only take things from our perspective and interpret them as best we can, but ultimately recognize that we don't actually have any control of it. It doesn't matter what I think of Trump or what you think of Elon Musk, because we don't control these people. We're observing them in real time. That's what we're doing, and we're forming an opinion that way. But where it does affect us and where it does matter to us is when it comes back to us in some sort of nefarious way, which you have experienced in South Africa as a negative connotation based on the nationality of the man who happens to wield a lot of power, or somebody like me who gets a lot of grief sometimes online based on what my ancestors did 300 years ago. Like, I give a shit. You know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with me. And I think for the most part, they did well. They did good things. You know, I think the British Empire was fantastic. You know, I think we brought a greatness to the world. Good things. It did bad things as well, but it did lots of good. You know, and I've got absolutely no apology for that at all.
There's a lot of truth to what you're saying as well, because if you know, the truth is a sword in that way too, that if you are somebody, and I've definitely been fortunate enough to only within the last several years, maybe the last, several years of my life, I've learned the power of truth as well, and being a person that does stick to your word. And it is unfortunate that even as we're speaking around technology and services are actually denied to certain people in our country because of the historical narrative that's also being pushed and stuff as well. So you'll be surprised what we face and encounter in terms of service of denial of service, specifically because of the current demographics that are set up in the country, and that, like, it's difficult for a person to really experience that unless they're here and really experiencing like what's really occurred. And for myself as well, on the technology front, there's so many things that I wish for when it comes to people living better and more comfortable lives. And you said it earlier, it's hard to disagree around somebody just wanting like the world to be a better place. And it's funny that no matter all the good that I do, no matter what like good that I do to try and protect the world and to try and, the name of my channel and what I like, Guardian in general, and what that represents for me in my personal life, I've absolutely, and I don't ever feel like I've needed to like say this as well, but I think that it's important for me to just stipulate this here for a moment. Every single day of my life, whenever I've had an opportunity, I've always helped people that are in need. I've always tried to protect people that I care about in the community around me. I've tried to do good in the world, and I've really tried to do that my entire life. I've dedicated my life to helping people and assisting people, and then you will still find people that would prefer to, offer some sort of scrutiny against what I am and my identity and it's true. You shouldn't need to defend that, because St. Augustine as well stipulated that the truth is like a lion; it does not need defending. Set it free, and it will defend itself. And that is what I'll say on that. I used to be a little bit more sensitive as well when it came to like a person saying a specific thing regarding like a character or anything. But if a person wants to have a certain narrative and they are against what I believe in, then that's perfectly okay. But I am absolutely, in my own existence, I am genuinely trying, and I will always try for the rest of my life to try and make the world a better place. And irrespective of what people want to view me as, I'm not Elon Musk, but they will associate me subconsciously along the same lines. And there's nothing that I can do about that. So I love these chats. I love these live streams. I am sorry that I got into an argument, almost like a bit of a debate, even though I said it's a bit of a conversation, because it was a little bit of hostility, maybe given forward and back there as well, and that's something that I never.
Not from my end. No, never take debate from me as hostility. By the way, especially from, I don't know you very well, Guardian, but from what I watch your videos all the time, and I've listened to you talk on here, and we've chatted on here, and you are probably the most genuine person I think I've spoke to online. I'm not just blowing smoke up your arse. I mean, you seem to be a genuinely nice person. Just overall, of course, I don't personally know you, but I believe you probably are. I think the way you speak and the way you talk isn't a front. I think you probably really are like this. I think this is the way you probably are. And never apologize for that. I don't think you should apologize for that. And I don't think you should get too upset about what people in comments say. And never get upset about having pushback, because, people push back on me all the time as well. And sometimes I get humbled by realizing I'm in the wrong. And I'll take it. I can't be right about everything. It's just, in fact, if I'm right about half the things I say, then I think I'm doing okay. That's kind of why I'm here, because I like to learn from other people, and you guys are intelligent people, and that's why I like to speak to you. We're all here to learn, usually specific subjects, because the thing about prepping and survival, doesn't matter what the topic is, they're deep topics. They're not simple topics. We're not on here arguing about a football team. We're talking about humanity here. We're talking about the absolute most important things known to man right now. We're talking about geopolitics. We're talking about the future of humanity. We're talking about health, wealth inequality. We've covered race. We've covered nationality. We've only been on an hour. So of course we're going to have disagreements, and we're going to have different views of the world. I mean,
right.
There was 4 of us on this panel a moment ago, and we're all over the world, 4 different countries, all speaking to each other in real time live. And there's hundreds of people probably in the comments now who are also from all over the world, who will have different viewpoints, different propaganda, and different opinions. And that's what makes people interesting. If we were all sitting here agreeing with each other and saying, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, what a boring chat that would be.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It would be boring as hell.
So just so that you guys know, if it wasn't for like me meeting my wife 15 years ago, and we've been together for an extremely long time, and because we both have remote work that we do for the most part, we've spent an enormous amount of time in directing each other's company. And there's a large amount of specific things that I've learned. And the most important thing that I've learned from my wife, and the reason why I love her more than like anybody could ever imagine, is because she's an honest person. And honesty is such a rarity in this world. I was a liar when I was young. I used to lie. I used to steal. In my younger years, when I was rebellious and stuff, and I used to, drink a bit and stuff as well.
Hey,
and used to like hang out with the ruffians and stuff. Hey, good to see you, Homestead Oz. And like I used to, do that type of thing as well. And it was just meeting my wife that taught me to be. And I'm not just saying that because she's right here. I'll say that wherever I am, under any kind of circumstance, I'm not just earning brownie points, which I am at the same time as well. But what I will say is that I genuinely mean it, that she's the most honest person I've ever come across. And that honesty is absolutely incredible. Just being an honest person and sticking to your word and sticking to your narrative. And that's why you're saying, Alan, that you don't feel like you've got the need to apologize, because you're saying what you mean and what your heart really understands. And it's absolutely the biggest defender ever, is that you can just be honest and true to who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And be willing to change your mind. People are willing.
Yes, yes.
You can change them. Even just listening to you and your wife briefly have a slight disagreement with something. It was interesting. He's no, I disagree with that, and then you amicably sort of made a joke about it and moved on. But that's how people should be. And I'm fully prepared to have a belief in something, and then have somebody more intelligent bring a different perspective to me and maybe point me at a different angle, because I've been looking at it from a narrow point of view. I've been siloed into my opinion. And then somebody says, but have you looked at it this way? And then over a very short period of time, I'm like, you know what? I'm probably wrong, actually. I might actually rethink this. And I will be happy. I'm hoping people educate me like that, because that is genuinely the only way to properly grow. If you're entirely narrowly focused and you believe a set of things because you believe them and nobody can change, that's not education. That's dogma. That's just, you may as well write it on a tablet and carry it around.
I think people are embarrassed to admit that they were wrong, which I think is such a weird thing, because obviously if you don't have all the facts and all the information, that's why I said earlier, people make their conclusions about a topic. They kind of come to that based on the information they have, or the information they have access to, or that is being given to them. And depending on especially in America, I think it's the worst. Depending on which side of the aisle you fall on politically is what kind of news you're getting. I feel like you were saying, you can agree with the left and the right in the States. And I feel like it's so easy to do that as an outsider, because it's not something where you're in it. It's kind of like you're looking at it from the outside, so you see the broader picture and how they're actually both sides are right about different things. They both have their issues, but I think people need to be, as you say, open to be wrong, because I think people are so scared to be oh, if I'm wrong about this, then I'm wrong about everything. And that's not the case. You're allowed to change your mind, and if you don't, I think that's where the issue comes in. A person should be open to explore new ideas and actually just think about it outside of a conversation. Is that maybe a different perspective?
Yeah, no, and it's true what you say about, because taking America for example, I'm interested in American politics, but I'm not American. I don't live in America. It's easy for me to take a passive observatory sort of approach, where I'm kind of on both sides of the argument, because I don't have a dog in the boat. I don't have a dog in the race, as it were. I'm not. It doesn't affect me as directly as it would if I was to actually live in a community where everybody was a Trump supporter, or everybody was a Democrat or something, and my whole family was against me, sort of thing. So the political, shifting between left and right from binary American politics is easier for me to do, because I'm not overly invested in it. Whereas in the UK, we have binary politics here as well. There are people, very much on some sort of left and some sort of right. And it breaks down even further into sort of the smaller countries that make up the UK. There are people in Scotland who believe adamantly in one thing, and people who believe adamantly in another thing, and both those things can be right. I mean, Scotland, for example, just because I happen to be here, there are some people who adamantly believe Scotland should be an independent country, and there are some people who adamantly believe it should be part of the United Kingdom. Now, that's a very binary choice, but they're not wrong. Both of them are right. Both of them have valid reasons for being true. And you just have to pick which one you want to be on based on how you personally feel. And you shouldn't feel you need to apologize to somebody who feels the other way. I think there are bad ideas. I think there are genuinely things that I could never be turned on. If somebody was an absolute crazy neo-Nazi nutcase or something, and they say to me, no, I'm telling you, the master race is the way ahead, I don't think there's anything they could do to convince me that was true. Okay? Yeah. Because I think that's just a bad idea. But I'm not going to write off marginal political things based on what the Democrats are up to this year, or what the Republicans are up to this year in America, or what the Conservatives and the Labour are doing, or what the crime rate in South Africa is at the moment, which is colouring my opinion of that entire nation, because I've never been to South Africa. I don't really know what it's like. I've only spoken to a few South Africans in my life, including both of you guys, so I don't really know what it's like. I don't know what South Africa's like for a person who lives in the absolute slum poverty end of a black South African. I don't know what a super rich South African's opinion is. I bet they're different. And I bet both of them are right.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not. I can't throw myself all behind one team. And it would be stupid for me to do that anyway. But what I can do is kind of take a general approach to it and just say, well, I'm broadly in this sort of area, but I can be swayed either way based on whatever the topic is. And that's kind of the way I approach life generally.
So we have just regarding technology and the capability that technology has, and with the whole smart home dumb outage, like that type of thing. It's because of my experiences in this country that I yearn for technology to resolve the problems of poverty and the problems behind crime and corruption. It's because of that I can absolutely see technology playing an important part and being a component of a cultural shift to, if you want to call it, enlightenment across the country as well, that we can be more on the same page and people can unify. Because I believe that because of technology, people are able to have discussions outside of their specific groups. And other than confirmation bias, which I think that we all have a part of, we all, have confirmation bias to some degree. I think that it is amazing that technology is allowing us to communicate. And instead of just, obviously there's like people make like little circles and stuff as well of their own opinions, and they'll make echo chambers as well, and I get that. But the more important part is the fact that in the world today we have the ability to speak like across the world to different people, and we have the capability to use technology to give us a sort of common ground and understanding. And that's why, for myself personally, that's why technology being such an important component of that change is why I view it in such a positive way. Of course, I understand that there can be negatives, and we could face
social credit score and
there's
all that stuff that can come with the technology. There's tons of negatives, but
what can we do?
A little bit hopeful,
You've got to.
For something good. You can't just be like nihilistic about the future. That like, what's the point? It's like those people who are like, save the planet, kill yourself. That type of vibe. You don't want that. You don't want that mindset. You have to have something to look forward to.
Hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you can see it with other technologies. This is the thing. We're talking about technology from a narrow individual perspective at the moment to do with home tech and things like that, and then we're swaying it a little bit into the future technology or developing technology of AI. But the technology of things like petroleum, the fossil fuels technology has done enormous good for the world, but of course we know it's done enormous bad for the world in terms of ecological damage and things like that. And it's the same for nuclear power. We know that nuclear power plants, for example, put out, they're far cleaner than coal-fired, power plants, and they have great energy potential, and they bring a lot of great things to the populations that they serve. But you also then have people say, well, they also bring great, terrible things as well. India having nuclear power early on, they simply turned it into a bomb. They weaponized it, and that's where that came from, and that's why there's an attempt by a lot of countries in the world to withhold nuclear energy to some extent, or nuclear development from certain countries, that they don't want to have that kind of weapon technology. On the other hand, there's a NIMBYism going on. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term, which is not in my backyard, which is you get these people who say, yes, I'm absolutely for nuclear power, I'm all for it, just don't build it near me. I build it in somebody else's backyard where it's out of my sort of eyesight, but I want the benefits. And we get a lot of that in the UK around renewable energy with wind turbines and solar. People are generally in favour of having wind turbines and solar farms to have cleaner, more renewable energy, but they don't want to see it. Yes, I'm all for solar panels, but don't put them in my field type thing. And I was listening to a debate on the radio today about a community that's campaigning against having solar panels put around fields and farms nearby where they live, because it spoils their view and it lowers the house prices of the place that they're living in, because it's a nice rural rolling green fields in the English countryside, and there's going to have these ugly solar panels there, and they're campaigning against it. And the funny thing is, none of them are against solar energy, they just don't want it to be where they're at. And we have to recognize that that's a problem when it comes to when we talk about technologies generally, is people have got a ground reason, an on the ground reason for whether they adamantly oppose something or are adamantly in favor of something based on what they believe is given to them at that moment in time. If I lived in sub-Saharan Africa and my backyard was just an empty wasteland of nothing, and I couldn't grow anything. And then somebody told me, you know what, I can build a big ass drill well right here, and it'll provide water, and you can grow crops here. Why wouldn't I want that? Of course I would want that.
Right.
On the other hand, if I lived in the English countryside where it rains all the time, and somebody says, I want to drill a well here and bring some water up from the ground because I want to use that water to cool my power station or whatever. Data center. Suddenly people will be, hell no, that's my water. You're not touching it. Go and do it somewhere else. You know, because they have a narrow focus of interest on their narrow area. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're preppers, we're survivalists. We're always thinking about our narrow sort of perspective and what we can narrowly do, because that's all we can do. It's the only thing you've got control of is yourself. You know, I'm not going to individually stop a data center springing up or the advent of AI. There's nothing I can do about it. But what I can do is observe it and have an opinion about it, which is what I think we're doing. And if I was to come on here and express my kind of opinions and then read the comments and just see a bunch of people saying, yeah, that guy's bang on, he knows exactly what he's talking about, I'd be concerned. You know, I'd be concerned, because I'm thinking, I can't be that right. You know, why is nobody pushing back? Why am I not being humbled? Why am I not being educated? That's never happened, by the way. You know, everybody always. But you know, I'm just saying it could happen one day, and I would be concerned if it did. You know, so this is just another long way of me saying, don't worry too much about people having a disagreement with you.
Well, I've never actually said it to you, but ever since I was about 8 years old or so, and I heard Braveheart with Mel Gibson, and in the Braveheart movie with the Scottish accent, it's always been my favorite accent. Like, you can ask anybody as well, and they'll
such
tell
a bad. He did a bad accent, though.
No, it's the rest of the actors that did a brilliant accent.
Well,
I think that they were actually from Scotland.
Yeah.
So
Ireland.
I think that,
a lot of them are Irish, actually.
But the accent itself and hearing Scottish, we actually, when I was doing summer camps as well, when I was in my early 20s, I had one of the fellow camp counselors that was over on that side was a guy from Scotland, and just always so much fun to be around, and such like a cheery and like positive and upbeat guy. So he definitely maybe, you know, there again, I'm pinning it down to nationalities and that as well. But he's like, in my mind as well, I've always viewed him in a positive way. I know that there's bad and good people of all different kinds, but I'm just saying, like, the accent itself always sounds fantastic to me. Like, I really appreciate the accent. And I've never said it to you. It's just because, like, it's a bit of a strange thing to bring up. Like, I really like the way your voice sounds, Alan.
I like yeah, I mean, I like your accent as well. I like all accents, actually. I'm quite, you know, I'm kind of partial to an accent myself.
Let's have a coffee sometime, Alan.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always wanted to visit. I've told you before, I've always wanted to visit South Africa. I know you ride motorcycles, so do I. So, you know, maybe one day we'll cross paths that way, and we can arrange to sort of meet up on a bike one day. Who knows? You know, stranger things have happened. But yeah, I mean,
you'll love this country. I've got to interrupt you just for a moment and say that if you did do like some sort of an adventure tour, even if it is over like a week and a weekend or something like that, like if
it's on the books, it's planned, it's going to happen one day.
You would love it to bits, man. I'm telling you that South Africa is one of the most amazing places.
South Africa's the best.
Yeah, it's also not even if you live here as well. Like, we do have our problems, but we also have so many things that are like positive about our country. And when we're speaking about technology as well, like, I've got to try and keep it back to like that specific topic. But it's like on my end, it's just something that, you know, just the fact that we've got the communication across the world that we do. Yeah, so. Also, much love to Homestead Oz. Good to see you, and yeah, good to have you guys around here. Yeah, if we actually do plan it down the road, you'll really enjoy like the fact that you can see so much in this country. There is so much to enjoy. You've just got to know where to go and where not to go. Obviously, same as like everywhere in the world.
It's the same as everywhere. Everywhere's like that. And
Yeah,
you know, I appreciate some places are potentially more dangerous than others, but I'll tell you what. I mean, Scotland's not a very big country. It's a very small country, and we. Yeah, of course, I understand, you know, everybody from just because somebody's got a particular nationality doesn't mean they're the same. Everybody is kind of different. There is a cultural similarity, but that's about as close as it gets. But there's dangerous places in Scotland. There's places in Glasgow, if I was to walk in the middle of the night, I'd get mugged. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, it's just the way it is because, you know, people are bad all over the world, but mostly good generally, from what I can see. And most people are trying to just sort of get by in life and bring up their children and stuff like that, and make the best of that. And when it comes to the sort of technology front of these kind of conversations, I think it is important. And you bring this up beautifully, actually, because you very quickly jumped off the mark of saying why you had a very strong opinion about certain aspects of technology based on your personal experience of the area you're in, where it's intermittent with energy. I didn't think of that. This is my narrow bias again, kind of just assuming. I haven't had a power cut in 20 years. There's no power cuts where I live. We don't get them at the moment. They might happen one day, but it hasn't happened in 20 odd years. So it's not. I don't think about it. I don't think about it a lot. And my views would change if I did have power cuts all of the time. If I did have. Yeah, absolutely, go for it.
So this is, I almost said picture this, and that's such an AR thing to say. So like with the situations that we've experienced here, imagine having youngsters, so small children, and you have small children that you've got to look after in a country that the crime rate is extremely high. Then the power gets cut. The water, sometimes the water is intermittent as well.
Because of the power. Because
yes,
if the power goes off and it's off for too long, then our water, they can't fill up the reservoirs. And then without that, then it takes like about a few hours of the power being on for the reservoirs to refill. So then you end up with like a double whammy where you don't have power and you don't have water at the same time.
So imagine not having power, not having water. You are in a country with the crime rates as high as they are. So your whole suburb.
The police are terrible.
The police take like several hours to arrive at some points. You're on your own. There's no police protection. So you're in a situation where the crime rate's high. Then you take into all of the social issues, like I mentioned earlier, that like you are seen as, I'm not even going to go down that road, but there's a whole bunch to that as well that I could say. But I'm going to say specifically on the power front, when there's no power, the lights are off, the children start getting scared. Even if there are candles, they start getting wary and stuff as well. Because on any news stations, no matter what you listen to, even if it's the general radio, they're always like giving like, information about crime that's happened here recently. So no water, no power, high crime rate. Then all of a sudden you've got little ones as well to protect, and you're sitting in a situation where even today, and I don't mean to go on this specifically, but our direct neighbor to us was assaulted at her work today, and I don't want to explain the details of that, but assaulted is all I need to say, and that's something that happened to our neighbor today. During this last 2 weeks to 3 weeks, you can look at how many houses have been broken into in our street and the street next to ours. And it's just like, that is a common occurrence as well, where being part of the local crime prevention group as well enables me to have front row seats to everything that's going on. And it's just like, I cannot explain to you what that feeling is like when you're the father. Your duty is to protect your family, and then you can't put the lights on because the lights just don't work, and then like there's no water, and it really becomes quite like stressful in a lot of ways, and you've just got to almost, because you can't change it, you've got to accept it, and that's the reality. And it's something that I don't bring up all that often, but Vanessa Kitty asked here, Guardian, how do you get water? I have a well, but also our team and water hookup. So just to quickly,
a lot of people have like those water tanks that they fill up, and then they keep those for like reserves, or they've got what they call boreholes. So kind of like a well, but it's not really water that you can drink. It's not like potable water. It's like good for watering your plants, or maybe it's not like water that you can drink. It would have to probably be boiled and maybe filtered in some way before
good for flushing toilets and things.
Yes, that type of thing. Yeah.
We also stock up because, and that also makes us preppers as well, because we also stock up on the fact that we might not have water. So like prepping becomes an almost way of life over here locally.
At any given time, we've got like maybe 5 or 6 of those 5-liter bottles of water filled and ready to be used for kettles or dishes or drinking or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it does cause us to be proactive in so many other ways regarding our security, our food stability. It's why I do permaculture and gardening the way that I do. It's why I have more than 70 varieties of different fruiting species and herbaceous layer as well in my garden with different vines. And just even today, I've got a new plant as well. I've got a chayote, which is quite a heavy vine. That's the type of squash. That is actually a vining squash that you can use the stems, the leaves, the roots. And that's very much like today, I got like 4 of those plants gifted to me by somebody that is in the plant community locally. So I didn't purchase them, I didn't buy them, but you've got to be mindful and proactive, because what happens in 3 years' time if we don't have access to the shops again, or if something does go wrong, or even not just if anything does go wrong, but how do we make sure outside of using technology, how do we make sure that like outside there I've got enough nutrition for my family to survive if things really did start to get gloomy. So yeah. Also, welcome, Anne Thomas. It's good to have you here as well to the chat. I hope that you enjoy your stay here, and yeah, it's nice to see new people.
It's interesting listening to kind of just a little snapshot of the kind of things that you're dealing with and thinking about day to day, and it actually makes me even more impressed with just how upbeat, how glass half full both of you guys are, listening to you over in South Africa, dealing with that kind of stuff. But I mean, I suppose that just becomes part of your normal day life. For you, it isn't prepping; it's just simply being proactively prepared for a normal day. And therefore, that's not out of the ordinary. It's a normal thing to do to prepare for war or to prepare for a power cut. I mean, I don't know if Brian is still on the chat. Scottish Prepper 73. He's on Mike's podcast with me, and he's a friend of mine now, and he's a power bank guy. He loves power banks, and he talks a lot about them, and he knows a lot about them, and he collects a whole bunch of them. And I bet he has the same sort of power issues as me, which is none really. But he goes by the notion that the power grid is more fragile than we believe, and we take it very much for granted in the UK that it's a flick of light and a light is always going to come on, because one day it might not come on. Doesn't matter that it has for the past 20 years. There might come a day where it doesn't. And he knows a little bit more about the power grid than I do, or a lot more than I do actually. And he's proactively putting his sort of preparation into that channel. He's channeled into that sort of that thing. I think if I lived in South Africa, if I lived exactly where you guys live, I would be far more involved in the kind of things that you guys are involved in. I would be part of that community group that's involved in security, so I had a little bit of inside knowledge as to what was going on. I would take my home security far more seriously than I currently do. Yeah, I've got some cameras and stuff, but break-ins and burglaries around my area is very low. It happens. I don't know anybody that it's happened to, which is a good thing. I'm happy that's the kind of situation I find myself in, where I don't have to worry about that too much.
I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, just so that you know this, Alan. I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go drink a glass of water and not want to sleep until 5 o'clock just because of security reasons. I will that's how, and it's almost every single night that's the case.
Hopefully that'll change. Will that change? Presumably that's something that will, even if it's went on for years, surely there has to be a point where the community that lives there eventually will have to come to a point where they say we simply can't tolerate this anymore. We can't live under that kind of criminality and
it goes
do something
into
about
a lot in order for it to be fixed. So just a little bit of information regarding South Africa. So at the moment, our police minister has been going through a huge investigation, because basically our commissioner of police is as corrupt as the criminals he's supposed to be putting behind bars. So there's a lot of shady dealings that have happened. So people don't trust in our police. Honestly, when it comes to crimes happening out in townships, which is very poor areas, they don't even call the police. They just mob justice it.
And there's areas where the police won't go.
The police won't go there because they'll get stoned. Basically, they'll get rocks thrown at them because the service delivery is so poor that people like literally just don't even respect the police when they do like traffic stops and stuff,
which I'm a part of sometimes.
yeah, they don't even care. Like they'll get together like a group of them that are like drive people that they've pulled over, and they'll put them like in the little van to take them to the jail because they're like drunk or they're driving without a license or something like that, and they'll like start threatening the police. Like the police stations and this is the craziest thing,
Get robbed.
the police stations get robbed, and then they steal
Wow.
guns, and then the guns end up in like our communities, like, you know, sold amongst people, and then that all goes into the corruption, because it's usually some dude who knows someone shady, and then they make a deal like, you're gonna come rob and then it's gonna be okay, and then you sell the guns and I get a share. Like that type of thing happens all the time here. And that's not to say that crimes don't get solved and there aren't crimes, like good police that are working at it, but those are so few. Like for example, we have an area from where we live to like, it's difficult to say. You guys also work with kilometers, so I'd say maybe like a 200 kilometer radius, right, from our police station. And
Miles
we
in
are,
the UK.
sorry?
It's miles in the UK, actually.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
we do both. We do both, but it's
Okay.
yeah. So
But like about 200 kilometers, like in a radius from our police station has to, if something goes wrong, they have to respond. And we only have one vehicle that's operational. There are 6 other vehicles that are broken, and they don't have the money to fix it. So they don't. So those vehicles are just standing there. So if you call the cops, you better hope that one vehicle doesn't have a flat tire, because we have phoned for some reason before, like I think they broke into our house when we were gone, and we called them to come, and they told us they can't come out, they have a flat tire, they'll come tomorrow, because they aren't even allowed to change the tire. They have to wait for a specific department to come and see, okay, it's a flat tire, change the tire. If it happens while they're out on a call, then they can. But if it's at the station, they can't do anything. And it's the most like ridiculous thing. So people don't respect it. People don't trust it. And people just kind of feel like they're on their own. So our government, like, yeah, there's a whole joke about a traffic fine can be $200 because you can just bribe the traffic officer. Like you just put it with your
Identification.
Yes, when you hand it to
your
them,
certification, and they'll take the 200 and they'll look the other way and they'll say, okay, carry on. Not only that, but there's instances where the police have come into a case where people have been assaulted and where the house has been robbed, and they will ask for stuff from that home. So they will ask the same people that have just been robbed, where the police come in and they're asking for stuff after a place has been robbed already. So like the type of like audacity that takes when like you're a policeman and then you're going into a home and you see that there's like a nice vase there or something on the shelf, and you ask, can I have this? Like after the people have just been like assaulted, and like there's so much to it, and there's so many times where police turning a blind eye to the public as well. I don't want to. There's things that I could say over here, but I know that we're on the internet, so I'm also stopping myself from going further down this road. But technology could solve this. Technology and transparency could be the reason why things like this, and that's the topic at hand as well. Technology could essentially make sure that the corruption slows down a lot and that policing improves via the ways. And we were speaking earlier about CCTV and people having over monitoring as well, monitoring society. And unfortunately, where we're sitting, a little bit more cameras everywhere isn't the worst thing possible. A little bit more kind of control and security over everywhere would mean that I don't need to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and not sleep until I start seeing the sun come up. Like, I'm so tired of that. And that's why for me, like, if you want to have like a certain social credit score and like that type of thing, like, I don't want to just run to it, but I'm saying that there are certain technologies that could absolutely not just improve the amount of poverty and uplift our country in that way as well, but
like
also
at the moment, and this is my point of view, is at the moment with the way technology is in our country right now, those solutions wouldn't work, because they will steal anything. If it can move, it can be stolen. And it's unfortunate. They steal manhole covers.
They stole the church bell a month ago. They went all the way up to the top of the church and stole off the big brass bell and then
traded in for metal. Yeah, to get scrap metal. For scrap metal to get money.
So cameras aren't the worst thing for us. Like, we could absolutely see how that could assist our society.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, listening to that, it's the kind of the thing with the extremes of, there's not enough technology where you're at, but there's too much technology in other places. So I can see China, for example, has too much video surveillance of its population.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
yeah, I agree with that.
The video surveillance of the Chinese population is simply there for marketing and data harvesting and collection, and it's not really about their safety. It might have started off that way, but then you give an inch, they take a mile type thing. You know, it progressively becomes more of a problem. We have lots of corruption in the UK as well. Our politicians are very corrupt. I mean, there's a case going on in Scotland just now with the huge amounts of corruption take place in Scotland. Huge amounts of money got stolen and embezzled and things with by the political party in charge of Scotland for the past 20 years. Very, very corrupt political party, very, very corrupt country generally when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I do know that if I was to phone the police just now for, there was somebody lurking around in my garden or something, the police would probably be here in about 5 minutes. They would be here quickly. And I also know that the police, when they got here, wouldn't ask me for a vase. They just wouldn't do that. So this is the thing, right? We have probably a little bit too much of some things and a little too less of other things. And this is where the creep comes into it. The example being that you live in a situation where you could phone the police and they might not come for hours. Okay. I live in a country where I could phone the police and all it takes is for somebody to make an accusation against me about my language, and I would be the one seriously in trouble. And I don't know if you guys have been following in your UK news, but there was a case very recently. What happened right now? An 18-year-old boy,
and then they arrested him.
Yeah, an 18-year-old boy who was walking home gets into some sort of pointless confrontation with somebody who I think he was a Sikh, and he had a sort of ceremonial knife on him, which he actually doesn't need to have, but whatever. He had a knife on him, and this Sikh man decided he was going to murder this boy and stabbed him 8 times. And then the police arrived because, they showed up. And when the police arrived, what do they see? They see an 18-year-old white boy, and they see a 30 or 40 something plus Sikh man. And the Sikh man immediately says to the police, he said something racist towards me. So the police, without any hesitation or explanation, put handcuffs on the boy who's just been stabbed 8 times, and he bled to death right there on the street. And it turned out
the mom of the Sikh guy came and took the knife away.
Yeah, the mother came, took it and hid the evidence. And it turns out the racial slur, it's now being discovered that never happened. The man just wanted to kill somebody because he was a nutter.
Didn't he say something along the lines of "I'm a bad man" before he stabbed him, where the kid was like recording on his cell phone?
Yeah.
I remember seeing something about that, and it's just so ridiculous. We have another friend from the UK that we chat to regularly, and unfortunately, there's a lot that he can't say and so on because of the monitoring there,
I'll actually ask him to not respond. If I send him anything on WhatsApp, I'll say, listen, this is a situation.
You can hear it, but you can respond.
Yes, you can hear all of this, but please don't say anything, because I don't want anything that's said from his end to incriminate him as well. You might have actually know of him. He used to be, I won't speak about who he is over here on this channel as well, just in case there's a sort of a link to get him into trouble. But I think that it's absolutely ridiculous. What we experience here is very different in that way. There's also speech police in a certain way over here to a degree. But we're not at the level where you guys are, where you get taken in for making an incorrect social media post. And we've seen a lot of that.
You'll just get judged in the society. There's not much. unfortunately, legally, that happens to people if they're like racist.
But
Yeah.
the reason it's happened, the reason I was using that as a sort of point of discussion is because that didn't happen quickly. That happened over a slow, progressive period of time because bureaucracy never stops. You know, so the bureaucrats will always find some rule to layer on top of the next thing, so that they have ever more control, ever more power, and they will just keep on doing it, and they will layer it on over and over again. And and technology is the same way. So technology used to be the case. When social media was first utilized in the UK, for example, I remember I'm old enough to remember when Facebook was first became a thing. It was the Wild West. You could say and do anything on there. Nobody could police it. Nobody was monitoring. It was perfectly fine. Now, entire police departments' budgets go towards people in an office reading tweets and social media posts because it's easier for the police to bulk up their police crime statistics by saying that they've convicted people on thought crimes. And it makes them look like they're doing their job much better. And they're only able to do that because the crime rate of other crimes is low-ish. It's lower than a lot of other people. But that doesn't stop the police wanting to be police. So they simply find another avenue, another thing to police. If there isn't a lot of car crime taking place, what do the police who would be involved in car crime do if there's no car crime? They don't just sit and eat donuts. They move on to something else. But the thing that they move on to is the easiest low-hanging fruit. And they use technology in order to do that, because you can quite literally eat a donut in an office and read somebody's tweet and say, this guy just said something about people coming across on a rubber dinghy. Sounds a little bit racist. I'm going to go and arrest them. And you can actually be arrested in this country for a non-hate crime, non-crime, or whatever the hell they call it. It's a non-crime something. It's got some stupid name, but it's not a crime. But you can be arrested for it, but it's not a crime. And nobody knows what it is. It doesn't make any sense. I've probably just committed a crime just saying that. That's how bizarre it can be in this country. Yeah. But like I said earlier, I don't police myself because I'm not going to. If somebody was to come to my door right now and say, you know what, you said something about the French earlier that we find a little bit, off. I would be I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to say it again because it's not malicious. It's not genuinely bad. And I don't think from a moral perspective, I'm in the wrong. I think they're in the wrong. I think they're using authority to police something that shouldn't be policed. I think they're using authority to take advantage of people, which is always what happens. Now, it's happening to you in South Africa because you can hand the police there $200, or they will come into the house and help themselves, and they know nobody's going to challenge them. And that's them using their authority to do that. The police in this country aren't going to steal my vase, and they wouldn't accept the bribe. But what they will do is scour my social media until they find something they want to use against me so that they can inflate their crime improvement statistics or whatever. You see what I'm getting at? They're both kind of similar. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, but come on, you're going to get a slap on the wrist and a £60 fine. I'm going to get
2 weeks in jail.
Yeah, but the difference, ultimately, it's kind of the same thing. You might be, a policeman in South Africa might say, I want 60 quid off you, otherwise I'm going to give you a parking ticket, even though I've just invented that. And then you give him 60 quid and you think, I've just been bribed 60 quid. I might get fined 60 quid for making a joke about people coming on a rubber dinghy across the channel. That's a bribe. That's a state bribe. The state are stealing £60 from me because then they're going to go and fund what it turns out themselves, as we've just found out. Like I was saying, a lot of one of our main politicians right now, who was in charge of the finances in Scotland, is going to go to prison because it's just been uncovered that he stole somewhere between £400,000 and £600,000, including taxpayers' money, and that's at the highest level. That was the husband of the person who is basically Scotland's prime minister. They call it a first minister here, but that's how corrupt they are. Yeah, I will get fined for, I don't know, saying some bad word or something that they've just decided, or saying something absolutely crazy and bizarre, like a man can't suddenly change into a woman just magically because they've decided to. That's a crime to some people in this country. And we have to push back on that, and we have to not be afraid of that. We shouldn't walk on eggshells about stuff like that, especially if we know it's just stupidity. You know, and I don't. I say it if I believe it.
That's the control factor they got over us. It's like they see, the news says, oh, this guy was arrested for making a Facebook post about whatever. But they don't tell you why. But that makes the rest of the people go, oh, I guess I don't want to say that. And they just keep piling it on. So sooner or later, you got no freedoms left. But hey, we're safe from bad words on Twitter.
Exactly. And then, but they decide what the bad words are. And the only cases you hear about are the famous cases because it's happened to somebody who's like in television or something, or a comedian, or something like that.
That's the thing. Over here, we see all these people that are getting arrested in England for Facebook posts. They don't see that over there. We see it, but you guys see what's going on over here. Just like my mom used to live up in Maine, and she would send me a newspaper article. She's like, hey, did you know this is going on at Fort Detrick? Yes, I lived near there for a while. I'm like, what? It was out of the Associated Press, but they didn't post it in our local papers. This is before the internet because they didn't want us to know about it. But let's tell the rest of the world that what's going on there with, testing and all that stuff. And I would get my news from, and then the internet hit, so they can't really hide it anymore. They can.
That's the beauty of technology. I mean, that's the one benefit of technology is in the UK, I can tell you right now, they genuinely do not report in the media, the mainstream media, that anybody's speech is being policed. In fact, they will absolutely say it is the opposite. The Prime Minister will stand up and say, no, freedom of speech is absolutely, you can say whatever you want pretty much as long as it's not hateful. Well, really?
That's why you guys are blocked by your IP addresses from accessing things in the United States and Japan, other parts of the world. You're blocked from that because that's where their news is coming out. They don't want you to see that.
12,000 people a year in the UK are arrested for tweets.
Facebook posts.
That is insane.
And they don't even have to be your tweet. They can just be a share.
You repost it or hit the like. You hit the like button.
Just like it. Yeah. If you just like another person's tweet, that can get you arrested.
Yeah. It's bullshit.
That's so George Orwellian. That is absolutely dystopian. That's crazy.
It is.
And
that's where they're going.
You say that it's like they can't hide it now with the internet, and I feel like sure maybe they can't hide it, but the way they use language and how they tell the same story. Like I don't know if you've seen there's this app that you can download. It's called Ground News, I think.
Yeah, I've got it.
Basically, it tells you like how it's biased,
how skewed a story is towards a certain political front.
Which side of the aisle is reporting on it, and so on. And when you like see how they tell the same story in different ways, and like what parts of the information each side chooses to emphasize, it's crazy how much they can actually hide in language and how they can use language to make you think the way they want you to think,
This is the newscasters, the news companies, CNN, ABC, NBC. Yeah. They're all controlled. They're all owned by like two people. Guess who makes the rules? Guess who gives them their talking points? I mean, there's been more videos out, and this is the famous one that they love to say. It's a threat to our democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. So when they say our democracy, they're talking about them. Their democracy, their whatever political agenda, but nobody will address that. But there was one guy did it. It was like he had like 100, one at a time. He kept adding it, literally saying the same exact words at the same time. It's a threat to our democracy. Yeah, and it was like 80 news channels. All these two people, newscasters, saying the same exact. It's a threat to our democracy, and it was like a chorus. And nobody believes it. And everybody thinks, well, yeah, it is our democracy. No, we're a constitutional republic, which is nobody. Trump barely ever says that. He's used the word democracy. The word democracy does not appear in any of our documents anywhere. Democratic, certain things we use, but we're not a democracy. We're not a mob rules. We're not a 51 people tell 49 people what to do. That's why they want to get rid of all our voting stuff and all that. They want the popular vote. They want 51. They want 99 people to tell that one kid that bicycle's mine. Have a nice day.
It's strange when you hear. It's funny that you say when you pick up on they all say a similar word. We have a dozen different mainstream media outlets in the UK, for example, and I listen to most of them. And you'll notice they say a phrase or a word exactly the same, even though it doesn't seem to make sense. I remember the first time I noticed this was during the last economic collapse, and they were using the term, what was it, the term they were using?
Financial disruption or something stupid. Yeah.
No, quantitative easing.
Oh,
They were saying quantitative easing. I remember sitting thinking, quantitative easing. I know what quantitative means. I know what easing means. I don't know what both of those things together means. And I had to look it up. And it was hard. It didn't even make sense. And eventually an economist explained it to me on the internet. It basically means printing money. They're talking about printing money. Right?
That's the biggest problem right now is we printed to oblivion.
And it was strange to me that all of the media outlets were picking up on the same phrase. And here's another phrase as well when they're talking about like the current conflict that's going on in Ukraine. They don't just say, Russia attacked Ukraine. You'd think these news companies would all have a different way of saying something, but they don't. They always say the same phrase. They always say, since Russia did its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, they always say full-scale invasion of Ukraine, as if they have to emphasize that particular phrase for some reason.
Here's the other phrase they use. Listen for it now, and you're all going to hear it. They use these key words. We already know that ... That means they know it. You don't, but you do now. No, we don't know that. We already know that Putin's a bad guy. We already know this. We already know that. No, we don't. We don't already know it. You're just telling us we should know it, but it's not necessarily the truth. Most of the times, it's not. When they use that phrase, that's like. And I used to yell at my team all the time. They go to a customer. They're like, "All right, let me be completely honest with you. Wait." And I told them, and somebody said that to me. I said, so basically everything you said up to this point right now is a lie. And they're like, well, I'm like, don't ever use that phrase again. Let me be straight with you. Let me be honest with you. Let me be whatever with it's like, okay, that means everything before that, you were doing the opposite. And they use that too. We're going to be completely honest here now. Okay, so everything you said for the last 20 years on the news channel has not been honesty. Well, we already know that. But
yeah. Well, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by how long it took me for the penny to drop on that. To be honest, I genuinely did. I never thought that the likes of the BBC, for example, I never thought they were completely impartial. They always say they're impartial, and I'm like, well,
no, they're
impartial,
not. It's like that's like CNN saying they're impartial to one side.
So they say it because they'll do something where it's quite a clever trick. Actually, they'll say a story, but it has one side of the story. And then to try and balance it out, they'll say a word about the other side of it, but give it no context. So it's an opinion, it's an agenda, but they present it as if here's the fact, and they'll talk about how terrible Trump is. They will talk about how terrible Trump is for 3 straight minutes on the BBC, and then they will say something, and the other side said this, and then move on. There's nothing else. There's nothing else there. So they obviously have a very narrow political agenda going on there. And it took me a long time to realize that, embarrassingly. But now, once you know it, like what you were saying, Guardian's wife, I'll just call you that, about ground news. That's a fantastic tool. That's a fantastic piece of news software to look at, because it tells you, this is left wing, this is right wing. Here's all the sources. Make your own mind up. That's how news should be. News should be. I think is that a Canadian or British? I can't remember. It's probably Canadian. I can't remember who founded that, but I'm sure they did it because they realized, wait a minute, we're not going to stop the fact that the likes of the BBC or CNN or Fox are biased, but what we can do is point the bias out to you, and then give you 2 sides of it from the 2 biases.
Right. So there is a reason. There is a reason in the States since 2000, whenever Obama took office, he literally wiped off what they call the Smith-Mundt Act, which was not letting the media to put out propaganda. He eliminated it. That came into fruition in like the 50s or the 40s or whatever, where it was like a presidential order or a law or whatever. He repealed it. So, which literally said, and nobody talks about that. That means all the news media they can use propaganda, which is all it is, to form their own opinions. And nobody talks about that. Look it up. SMITHMUNDT, Smith-Mundt Act. And it's hard to find because they Google buried that too. They don't want you to see what it was. And then that Obama repealed it. It just allows you to say whatever you want. They use technology to their advantage now. They just repeal stuff and make up laws to use tech to just get their own message out.
Yeah, well, they do the same thing here, of course. And one of the most insidious things that was done, because we're talking about tech and some of the dangers of tech, is that's what they did. I mean, you probably know about this. Is there were certain laws in the United States where they weren't allowed to interrogate people in a certain way, but this because of constitutional laws. But we don't have the same constitutional laws in the UK. So what they did was they used the Five Eyes thing that they do, the intelligence community thing, to subvert this. So they're like, okay, we want this information and we want to obtain it this way. We can't constitutionally do it, but you British guys can do it. So you do it for us, and then you pass on the information to us, and then it's you that's gave it to us, but we haven't broke any laws. You see how we work that out? Yeah. And they did this all the time. They do this all the time. And the UK does it as well. The UK gets around a lot of HITS laws by going to more squirrely sort of places, which is, to be honest, part of a reason why we hold on to a lot of overseas territories and dependencies. And basically, it's the old British Empire stuff. But it means that some of the laws in those countries are a little bit less, scrutinized. And therefore, we can get away with perhaps flying a plane somewhere or sending somebody somewhere or whatever, all the weird, dark things that go on. But it's technology that's done that. It's. I mean, maybe that happened back pre-technology. Maybe tall ships used to, we can't torture this guy in the UK, but we can torture him down in bloody, I don't know.
The US does that. Why do you think we have Guantanamo Bay?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not a US territory. It's a military base. In a foreign land, they could do it in airplanes, and the CIA does it. When they hear waterboarding, they do it.
And here's the funny thing:
airplane flying over international waters, so they don't have to worry about any laws being broken.
And here's the funny thing, because I was given the example of how the US have used British laws to subvert US laws, but we did the same thing in the US when we had prisoners in Guantanamo Bay. Like, we can't torture people in the UK, and we can't torture them anywhere else, but
we can't do it on US property here.
But you guys are going to do it in Guantanamo Bay, and if we just happen to have a guy from MI6 standing in the room while you do it and overhear what's going on, then that's okay, because we're not doing it.
Fine.
You guys are doing
it.
And that kind of mad stuff happens all the time, and that's what we have to be. That's the creep. That's the creep of technology. That's the creep of bureaucracy. That's the creep of giving them an inch, they'll take a mile. And that's why I have to be cautious about the ever integration of our homes. To bring us back to the topic, the ever push to get more information. We all know the Snowden stuff. We all know that kind of stuff, and we're given more to it. I understand Guardian's argument that they haven't got enough of it. He wants more bloody CCTV. He wants more police power. He wants more surveillance going on so that there's less crime there, and the police aren't the criminals. I get that. He hasn't got enough. We have too much. The Chinese have got way too much.
Chinese. That you guys probably talked about that when I was gone there.
Yeah, we did.
Down for my neighbor. That's all it is. It's like you walk across the street. You don't wait for the green light, and you walk. Boom. Your bank
face
account
recognition,
shut down.
numbered. They know your apartment,
and you better carry your phone, because that is your life is in your phone. And that's what all these data centers over here are probably for too, to keep track of every detail of your life, so they can say, sorry, you were going 5 miles an hour or 5Ks over the speed limit in this one area. Yeah, we're going to temporarily make it so you can't access your fuel card anymore. I mean, they can do that. That's what they're looking to do. They already do it in China, and that's what they want to do here, because the big tech companies that are doing it over there, those are the ones that are starting it up over here, but anybody that talks about it, it's like, oh, no, this is for your safety. And I was going to say that Smith-Mundt Act, I just looked it up quick. It was 1948. It was basically there so the U.S. could use propaganda in other countries, but not on their own people. And that was Truman did that in 1948. Well, in 2013, Congress repealed it, so now they can use propaganda on us here, and Obama signed it into law, or signed it away from law, or whatever they did. They just repealed it. And said, we think we should be able to use propaganda on our own people. It's like, and here we are, 13 years later, and that's when the news literally changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's whenever something happens, governments will take that as an opportunity to beef up their own power. I mean,
yeah.
What is it? I forget some of the going by US things again. The Patriots Act.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that was a massive game changer when that came into play. And
it was a game changer because it's like, oh, look at how much safety we're giving you, and look at how much freedom we took away from you.
Exactly. And they never take it. They always portray it as if we're going to do something for a period of time because of this situation, but they never take it away.
Income tax was supposed to be for a year. That never went away. They just kept. They're like, oh, look at that free money coming from the people. Now they're slaves to us because they work and we get some of their money. So you don't get you don't get all of your labor money. You know, we lose 30% or more, depending on what state you live in, to federal and local taxes and state tax.
Do you know what they're taking away in the UK? Because it's such a burden, and it's a burden on the state, and it's for our own safety.
50%?
Jury duties. No more juries.
No, yeah, sorry. We don't need a jury. Nah, you're free to go. Just don't unalive that any more people. That's all. You're fine.
Yeah. No, those people for those kind of crimes, you'll probably just get away with that stuff. But the reason they want to get rid of jury duties, the official reason is, there's such a backlog of people in our system, and juries are expensive and long. It's much better if we just have a level-headed judge who can just make a decision on the spot.
Yeah, level-headed appointed by. Yeah, level-headed appointed by who?
Do you know what the backlog of things is that's blocking up the system so much that they want to remove juries? Freedom of speech. Yeah, because it's all the marches and all that kind of stuff. So they want to get rid of juries, because juries, it turns out, if you put a person in the dock and say, why is this person here? Oh, he liked something on Twitter. The jury's going to be, and he's free to go. Yeah. No,
they don't want that.
That was unacceptable. So they
get rid of the jury. And now you can't have juries in California because, they try to have juries, but because in order to be picked for a juror, you're registered to vote. That's where they get the voter rolls from, or they use the voter rolls to pick jurors. I get them every now and then, and they send it out. Well, here's the problem. They send out these jury notifications that you must go or you're going to be arrested. Yeah. And these people are like, well, I can't because I'm not a citizen. Or it goes to some bogus address because there was nobody ever there to begin with. So they're starting to realize their own system is catching them off guard because, 50% of the people that live there are not American citizens.
We just, I kid you not, we just had elections in Scotland. Well, most of the UK, but we had devolved ones in Scotland. We just elected a person in the Green Party who is an Indian national who's came to the UK as a student. So they have a student visa. They're not a citizen. They don't have a right to work in the UK. And they're also transgender, trans, whatever the hell they would call themselves.
Which says flat out, your elections are just as rigged as ours are.
Guess what? That person's now in Parliament, getting paid £80,000 a year, even though they're not allowed to work.
They live in a house funded by the U.S. government, funded by your tax dollars.
Yeah, of course.
They eat everything they do is funded by the UK.
And guess what he said? He likes to call himself them or whatever the hell that means. But guess what he said? His number one, now that he's elected into office in Scotland, his number one priority for his constituents is Palestine and allowing men into women's bathrooms for some reason.
Yeah, well,
what the hell is going on with the world?
Exactly. Somebody's writing the rules and somebody's paying the paychecks to make these things happen. That's sure conspiracy theorists.
But technology, I say, to play devil's advocate a little bit, and like I say, I'm a fan of technology. I'm a technologist. I love it. I have a degree in technology. I did audio technology. I'm surrounded by technology. I love the stuff. I have one of these dodgy cameras right here, that I'm going to put in my backyard tomorrow because, to me, it's security, but I know that's easily hackable. But it has bad points. It has bad connotations. And this is just some of the stuff that comes out of it.
You know that, so the artificial intelligence systems that are out there, they utilize the same capability that you've got with your Wi-Fi to detect. They see in Wi-Fi. They don't see through. through cameras or anything like that as well. So the way that their vision works, and I've always been extremely intrigued by this, is the fact is that the same way that we would believe that we need cameras and that your phone has a camera and that your phone has audio, like the systems that are out there that are driven by artificial intelligence have no requirement whatsoever to have any camera or any audio devices at all. They see in Wi-Fi and they can see around corners. They see everywhere that Wi-Fi can. There's no way whatsoever that. Go ahead, Chef.
No, they see a 3D version of, it's like the stuff you see on sci-fi or on like the Matrix. They see in 3D, but it's not. It's visual. Eventually, it's visual. But yeah, your Wi-Fi signals bounce off of things, and like radar, it creates an image.
Yeah,
and they can do that. So, all you can do it. Not my sister does it at night when they're done watching TV and that, because they have Wi-Fi in the house. She unplugs it, and that irritates her cable company. So the Wi-Fi company so bad, because in the morning she plugs it back in. They get mad because every now and then she's like, "Oh yeah," she calls them up and says, "Hey, I need you to reset my my router." Well, what happened? I unplugged it. You can't do that. She's like, it uses electricity. Well, no, it needs to stay on. Why does it? See, the people that are saying that, they don't know. They just have a talking point. It just needs to stay on all the time in case there's an update. No, forget your update. And I'm about to start doing that in my house.
That's interesting. And as things progress, it will actually be rather intriguing to see how that goes.
No, but like,
also, good evening, Lee. Nice to have you here with us, Lee. Go ahead.
Wait till 6G comes out.
They do it in other countries as well. But so they have like almost free Wi-Fi that anyone can use. So they specifically like to put it in like poorer areas where people might not have access to internet at home, so that they can still have access to like studying materials and so forth. And they do that for free, and they're getting that money somewhere. They're not doing it just out of the kindness of their heart.
Nothing is free. We all know that. Nothing is free. It's free Wi-Fi. My tax dollars are paying for it. What happened to Kamala Harris promised, free Wi-Fi all over the country for like $300 billion. We got one Wi-Fi tower in 3G. That's all we ever got out of it. Where'd the rest of the money go?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what they do.
The political
promise the world and take it away. Yeah.
The political bribes in this part of the world are even more pathetic than that. I remember a few years ago, the current Scottish executive or government, they promised every child would be given a free laptop and bike.
Oh yeah.
They may as well have said they were going to also get a puppy, but they said no, free laptop and bike to all. Guess how many kids got a free laptop and bike?
I like to tell I like to tell everybody. It said, they're like, we're going to get free this. It's like, okay, remember this from high school? A lot of people do my age. The student council guy running for president or girl, we're going to have free ice cream for lunch. At lunch, everybody's going to get free ice. Everybody's like, yeah, free ice cream at lunch. That's awesome. Well, what they didn't tell you is in order to get that free ice cream, everybody had to come in on a Wednesday and have their mom bake cakes, cookies, and stuff and have a bake sale to get that cash to pay for the ice cream. So you were still paying for it, except more so, because my mom would spend, 6 hours in a day making like 50 cookies and cupcakes and that, so I could bring it in for the bake sale and sell it for, 10 cents a piece back then or whatever. And that money, we never got free ice cream.
I'm looking forward to seeing the mayor of New York provide all the free stuff he said he was.
Yeah. He's another classic example of fake elections. Yeah, there's no way. Ironically, he's Muslim. All of Brooklyn is Jewish. You really think they voted for him? No, they did not at all. They show a couple rabbis or whatever going, "Oh yeah, he's good guy." No, he's not, and they know it. But yeah, I have a lot of friends that live up there, and they're like, "You got to be kidding me."
I also seen what he had to say after 9/11, and I can't believe that the population of New York elected that guy as their mayor, when he seemed to really enjoy what happened after 9/11. To me, incredible.
So did what's her name, and she's a congressperson, the one with the donkey teeth. She's like, some people. Oh no, it wasn't her. It was what's her name from Minnesota, Ilhan. She's like, some people did some things. That was her answer. 9/11. Some people just did some things. That was it.
Yeah, our politicians in Scotland have recently said that they're going to work with a political party that used to be the political wing of the IRA, and we should just move on. Just move on. They killed hundreds of people and massacred people, but let's just move on because it happens to be politically good for that political party to be in cohetes with them. But I mean, this is why I'm not. This is why I refuse to join a political party or vote for any one political party. I'll vote for whoever happens to be mostly right as far as I'm concerned, which is basically none of them. They're all very, very corrupt in my opinion. No normal person gets into politics. No normal person does that.
I watch some of the stuff going on in your Senate, whatever they call it, where they're all standing there yelling at each other and they get up and say these things. I'm like, what a clown show.
Yeah.
And they stand there and they say, I want this and I want that. And then they sit down. That's it. That's all they did was say something. And then 3 weeks later, they're voted out again. It's like, what you guys don't have you guys have elections whenever they feel like it, I guess, or in England.
Oh, we've had 6 prime ministers in the past few years. I don't even remember all their names.
Yeah, I don't think nobody remembers their names. They're in, they're out. They're in, they're out. Yeah.
They're in, they're out. They're in, they're out. They come in, they get rich, they leave.
Mm-hmm. They get to live in that house, whatever that house is on, whatever that street is in London.
10 Downing Street.
Yeah, Downing Street. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, well, I think we all agree that our politicians are dirtbags. I mean, that's kind of just the way it is. And see that question, by the way, Prepper for the Ages, where he says, what agenda-free news sources do you people use? I follow YouTube channel agenda-free TV. See the way I look at it, I don't think there are any agenda-free news sources. I think you just have to recognize what the agenda of that news source is and then listen to it, but then listen to another one and form your own opinion. Like I said earlier, I like American politics. I like to listen to it, but I don't have any, I don't live there, so it doesn't really matter to me, but I like to listen to it. But I will listen to the Daily Wire. I'll listen to Ben Shapiro, and he's very pro-Trump. And then I'll listen to CNN, or I'll listen to Sam Harris podcast, who's very anti-Trump, and I'll listen to everything they have to say, and I'll form my own opinion. But they all have agendas. But at least they don't hide it. At least Ben Shapiro doesn't pretend that he's not, pro-Trump. And at least Sam Harris doesn't pretend that he's not literally thinking the guy's the Antichrist. And, whereas if you listen to CNN or the BBC or one of these mainstream things, they're given a facade of impartiality or fact. They say something as if what they're saying is factual, even though they've literally just made it up. And that to me is, abhorrent.
Hey, who's moderators for anybody's channel? Because there's one sitting there staring at me right now that's needs to leave. I'm not a moderator on Shadow's channel, so I can't make him. At least I don't think so.
Guardian did look at it and he tried to remove it, but it's not popping up so he can remove it. So.
I can give you one guess as to who would be behind that, by the way. And I'm just saying that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Guardian did.
I don't know whose channel it popped up on. Was it up on yours, Alan, or is it up on Shadow's? I don't know which one it is.
I don't know what comment you're talking about because I don't really read them that much, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's
how far up is it? How far up is it? No,
3.
Or what's the name?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that is not on my side.
All right, Alan.
It's on Alan's side.
Time to make Chef Tech 86 a moderator, so at least I can get rid of some of this garbage for you when you're not paying attention.
I almost never actually monitor my own comments.
Let me go up on your channel quick. And where are you? Yeah, there's always a troll that pops in. Moderators are helpful.
Yeah.
Why can't I find your channel's posting here? What's the name of your channel again, Alan? I'm having a brain fart.
It's just World Survivalist. It's just the
World
same as my
Survivalist.
name.
That's it.
Yeah.
There we go. Did you get rid of it, or is it still there?
I've removed it. I'm not sure how you block people and stuff on this. I'm terrible at YouTube.
Do you know how to make anybody here? I'll comment. Hold on a second. Hi.
Yeah, if you comment, I can make you a mod.
There you go. Make me a mod. Looks like I can't see it now, so I guess it's gone.
There you go.
Yeah, it's gone off of your page. So
yeah, I removed it.
Yeah, remove it, and you just right click or block them or whatever. But all right, I'll keep on your side. Shadows. He's his own mod. He watches everything coming up.
Yeah, but I can't do anything on Alan's side.
No, you can't. Well, I can now. So
yeah.
All right, back to technology ruining our lives or making our lives better, or smart home dumb outage. Yeah, power goes out, half the world is done because they don't know how to work without technology.
There are people that have like the power of the internet at their hands, and then that's what they decide to do with it, is to be a troll. I'm just making like a funny like statement. If you think about like that's like out of all the things you could be doing in the world, you decide to like go to like a channel and like troll. Like that's what your life. It'll be very interesting to see like what led up to that moment in a person's life that they would decided to be like, I'm going to go troll somebody. Like I get making fun and that type of thing, but that was like such an interesting approach.
What a boring thing to do, you know. I mean, but hey, I mean, whatever you're into, I suppose. They probably have about 6 different other things they troll on.
It's Saturday, sorry. That's their Saturday night.
So I do hope you find something entertainment, some good entertainment in your life as well, other than scrolling on the internet. Like I hope that someday you do mature past that.
Shadow's well versed on what trolls can do. When he used to post the link, and that one came up. Yeah, we shut the stream. He's like, "What do I do?" I was like, "Shut the stream down and delete it, and just start a new stream." And he did, and that's when he just started sending out emails instead of posting.
Yeah, never just
like, here's the link. Come on up. Yeah. And if you don't know him, don't let him up.
We were show on your face. Live stream, and we went off like literally probably about 10 minutes before that happened.
Yeah.
So
you missed it.
We just missed it, but we heard all about it.
Damn. Missed it.
That was a terrible thing. Oh my.
Yeah.
Specifically,
I should send a ninja algorithm to crash that troll system.
So the look on Shadow's face when this guy came up and he's like, "Hey, how are you?" No words, right to the video. And the look on Shadow's face is priceless. I'm like, oh dear Lord. It took him a couple seconds to boot him out.
Yeah.
And then it's like kill the stream. Just kill it and delete it. That way it doesn't post to YouTube and there's no other things there, and it disappeared, and he just started a new one, and we all hopped back on again and said, yeah, stop letting people up.
I didn't get to see it, but I imagine for a split second there a lot of people were like, hey, that's a mighty bad snake bite, buddy. Oh, wait a minute. No.
Yeah.
That is what that was, yeah. Yeah, it's just over time, Shadow. I think that the way that you evade like combat in the way that you do, like is like, verbal altercations and stuff as well. You're not somebody that likes to stir up anything. In fact,
like a civil chat.
Yeah, you keep the chat civil for the most part, like almost always, and that's a respectable thing to do. And I try to. That's why even when there was like a bit of a disagreement earlier, I try to not like go too heavily into it out of respect for what you do and like how you lead your lives. And it's quite strange, but just to bring it up as well before myself and the missus head off as well on this end, like it has been phenomenal to have a place on Saturday evenings as well, just to be able to like chat to you guys and to share ideas with people who share similar life kind of outlooks in the way that I do as well. So I really appreciate it.
We've learned so much.
Yeah, really.
I think it's great because I get to hear opinions from literally 3 other countries, sometimes 4, depends on who pops up, and we all have our opinions, but I respect everybody's opinion on it. I may push back on certain things when I don't agree with it. When what you're saying is like just flat, from my opinion, flat out false. We'll discuss it. I don't argue. It's just like, hey, you're allowed to say what you want to say, and I try to keep it on track a lot. We used to have somebody else would pop on here. I'm like, yeah, let's get back to the topic here. Yeah, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So there was
Yeah,
that.
so I will say this with much love that I appreciated this evening's conversation, and I think that it's always good to chat to you guys as well. I appreciate this community more than you guys will imagine. So thank you for the chat and the live stream this evening, and I'll definitely catch up with all of you guys soon. I'll definitely see you soon. Thank you.
Great speaking to you,
Yeah.
Guardian. See you later. And
Good
see you later,
good
Guardian's
seeing you
wife.
again.
It's always nice to have you up,
hearing you.
Guardian.
Have a good weekend further, guys.
Take care.
It's the thing about tech as well, though. I mean, even with the experience that you had on your channel, Shadow, is there's always one person who would just want to see the world burn. You know, there's always there's always somebody out there who, it doesn't matter what you try to do, what your intentions are, or what everybody else is doing. There's going to be somebody who wants to just put a dick on a screen or pee in the soup or do something because they're just a horrible person, and they want to be that adjutant. You know, they want to be that, look at me, I just corrupted the thing, you know. And that's kind of the creep with tech as well. Do you not think? I mean, at some point you're going to get some super powerful tech billionaire or some company. It doesn't have to be a person, but they just want to be an agitator in the world. They don't want to do something for good. They just want to do something because they can.
Yeah, it must be like boredom. You know, they sit, and I'll say it the way everybody makes fun of it. It's like, hey, they sit in mom's basement. They got nothing to do in life. They have no goals, nothing. They get on there, and one of their friends said, oh, hey, you got to get on here and say this and say that. Try to get these words posted. See if you can get on a live stream and post something. And I think they get paid. Gil said they get paid for it. Like, there's paid trolls out there internally. You know, if you can get something up there for more than 10 seconds, you know, we'll give you $10 or something like that. It's ridiculous. They have no life. Yeah, troll fans. They have no life. None.
There are
zero life.
I mean, I can see that you get these professional trolls. You get troll farms, bots and things. And some of them are like actual full-on like governments. So you'll get like, we get it in this country as well, where they try to like manipulate political elections and stuff, where you'll see tons of stuff on social media, which is just all propaganda and lies. But it's actually, it's not even coming from like this country. It's coming from bloody North Korea or somewhere. So I mean, that's one thing.
It's funny how we always pick on North Korea. North Korea has like nothing.
Well, they're the only people. They're the only people aren't likely to jump on here and tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
they're not utilizing the technology.
You know, it's Iran and North Korea. It's like, wait a minute, what about like India, China? Hell, half the crap comes from our own government here in the States. They sit in their troll farms with their bouncing their signal around, so it looks like they're coming from Uganda somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Really?
But you do also just have people that are like, remember it used to be hackers, but before it was trolls.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody used to think like there was a kid in a basement hacking something just for the sake of it type thing. But every now and again, you actually do just get like a kid who breaks into like, I don't know, the healthcare system, and he shuts it down. And like, well, what was his motivation? What was he angry about? What was he trying to? What was his social justice?
Nothing. He just wanted to say nothing. He did it.
He wanted to break it because he could. Just like a narcissist who wants to set a building on fire because he can. No reason. Just wanted the little pleasure out of doing it.
Because it brings them their dopamine levels go up. Like, I did it. Yeah, like look at me. It's like, go tell somebody about it and see how fast you get arrested. Yeah.
It's like people that do something just on impulse. You know, you see videos of these people like on the London Underground who just push a person onto off the platform in front of a train.
Oh, they do that in the city. They do that in New York City all the time.
Just on impulse. You know,
they walk by somebody and just like give them a left hook and knock them to the ground. And it's a poor little old lady, and she's now dead.
Yeah, and
they don't care. They just keep right on walking. Like, why? They got anger issues, I guess.
Well, I don't know if it's anger issues or if it is just they're being ignored in the world and they feel invisible, and that's certainly a way you can make yourself the center of attention for a short period of time.
Sure, yeah, very short.
But I think there's some tech people like that as well, or tech companies, and you know that's a concern. I think that's something we should think about when we're deciding to literally load our homes full of spyware, because that's what it is, spyware. You know.
We all got it. Yeah, we've all got spyware. It's our phones. They're all spying on us.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally on all of the time. It listens to what you're doing. It sees what you're doing. It tracks you constantly.
Yep.
I found a feature on Google Maps the other day where you can go into it and it shows you all of your movements where you've been pretty much years back. So I could see like my own tracking movements from years ago. I didn't know it had that function.
That's on Google Maps. See, I don't use Google Maps, but I don't have
it's on
Google on
Google
my
Maps.
phone. I have an iPhone, but I'm sure it's there too somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, they make it out as if it's just, because people like to see where they've been. Well, no, I know where I've been. I was there.
Well, that's how they found. That's how they found that military base, because all these guys were jogging on the track. It's like a 10-mile track or a 20-kilometer track, wearing their smartwatch for their health benefits, and all of a sudden, everybody knew where they were. You could see these little red circles everywhere.
That was a Navy ship. That was a Navy ship. I heard about that.
Yeah, it was a Navy ship, and there was also a base somewhere. They were doing the same thing, and they freaked out. I mean, the government was like, "Oh my God!" So they shut it down, or they told their guys, "They're like, no more Apple Watches, no more tech." I mean, they'll probably carry government-issued flip phones with no cameras on it. So it's like, I wish those days were back. Just give me my old Nokia flip phone that I could talk on or text. That was it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing when it comes to tech as well. You do get a lot of people who are like absolute technophobes almost, and they say, look, nothing's ever deleted from the internet. Don't put anything on there because everything's blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. My view is, okay, everything I'm all over the internet. I have a YouTube channel. I'm talking here literally across the way. I don't hide my face. I don't, Alan is my real name. You could probably work out where I live, based on what I've said. Things like that don't concern me, because I've got nothing to hide as far as I'm concerned. That doesn't mean I think everybody should be like me and just sort of approach the world that way. But what you can do is you can remove yourself from it temporarily if you want to. I'm not important enough or interested enough that anybody actually gives a damn about me. If I stopped coming on these lives and I shut down my YouTube channel and I switched off my social media and I just disappeared for a month, somebody next week could probably be like, oh, remember that guy Alan? And then 3 weeks from now, nobody would remember who the hell I was, and it wouldn't matter. So you can remove yourself from it.
There's a bunch of us that would spend days trying to track you down and get a hold of you. Dude, are you okay?
Are you alive? Are you alive?
Are you alive? Yeah, what happened? I mean, if everything got absolutely scrubbed and gone and not a trace, it's like, government got him.
You know what's happened? It's because I made that French remark earlier or something, and the UK authorities have came to the door, and I'm in Guantanamo Bay. But I mean, but my point is, though, I mean, you can't really remove what you've put on the internet, but you can remove yourself from the internet in that moment.
Yeah, I took myself off of Facebook. It's all my stuff is still there. My last post was in 2019.
Yeah, I don't use Facebook.
I just stopped. I got in too many arguments with people. I'm like, why is this shit ruining my life? So I mean, it's still there. I can go on there. Every time I only have it on one of my devices. And I'll turn it on every now and then and pull it up. Be like, you have 18 million notifications. It's like, of course I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, from a mental health point of view, you have to limit the amount of technology you use. And if a lot of the technology is similar anyway, like social media is basically all a copy of each other. I've got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, probably one or two other ones. I use none of them, right? I only use YouTube. My stuff automatically posts to a page on Facebook, and it automatically posts to Twitter. It's for anybody who's listening to this thinking, yeah, you never comment back to my replies. I don't even know the password for my Twitter account. Don't know. Haven't got a clue. Never looked at it. But I know it exists because it occasionally pops up in my email that I've posted something. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And Facebook is kind of similar. But I mean, I can stop all of that. I could simply unconnect everything. And yeah, I get that I could never remove the stuff, but I don't care that any of the stuff that I've said or done is out there, because I agree with me. I agree with all my opinions. So I'm fine with having them out there, and I'm not going to get into politics anytime soon. So it really doesn't matter to me that somebody somewhere will, if I try to get into politics tomorrow, somebody will say, well, I think when you were speaking to Chef on Shadow's podcast 5 years ago, you happened to say that you thought women can't suddenly become men. That's a no-go. You're now banned from all politics or whatever.
You're banned from everything and arrested.
Don't care. Yeah. Don't care. I'm going to say, I'll say whatever I want to say now, because I don't think I say anything that's bad. or immoral. And I don't think I use technology in an immoral way, but I think tech companies do sometimes use tech in an immoral way. And it's just a case of recognizing. It's kind of like what we were talking about with the news. It's just a case of identifying it and using it. They're using us, so we should use them. I'm using YouTube to do this. YouTube is using me to occasionally try and sell me some garbage that I don't want, and I might even sometimes buy it. So probably
they're just collecting data on you, so when the AI takes over, they know you're on the list.
Yeah,
we're probably all on some kind of government list at this point.
Yeah, well, I imagine so. But I mean, what a boring list. You know, I mean, for all the kind of people in the world that have really genuinely bad intentions. People.
No, we're not high on the list. We're just on a list for their preppers. You're on a list. You're a survivalist. You're on a list. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you only have to say you're a prepper or survivalist, and suddenly you're connected to being the bloody Unabomber and some other nutcase or whatever.
I've heard that term in a long time.
I heard it the other day. That's why I thought it was funny. He was anti-technologist, actually. He was against technology, wasn't he?
He lived in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, Montana or something. Yeah. They actually moved his cabin to DC to one of the museums.
I remember watching the documentary they made about it and thinking, God, is this what people think survivalists are? It's such a terrible thing to be lumped with.
That's where preppers and survivalists all got bundled together for a long time there of, the nut jobs living in the woods with 10 containers all stacked up and barbed wire and enough guns to start their own war.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it was all. That's what they in all the movies and stuff. And that's the stigma they've given us now.
But hey, I'm perfectly happy to use technology to my advantage as much as they can use it against me. But like I say, it was always the case that the second people think Facebook is free, the second a multi-billion-dollar company gives you something for free, it's because you're the product.
Yeah. Oh, they just tell you, well, we just send advertisers. We get paid by the advertisers. Yeah, somebody else is paying them too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who would do that on Facebook, to be honest. That was always a bit of a weird one. It's just the last time I looked at Facebook, it was just full of AI slop. But
yeah,
I mean, that's
what was the other one? MySpace. It's still out there. MySpace is still a place. Yeah, somebody said the other day, I'm on MySpace. I'm like, that's even a thing? I thought that died in the 90s.
Yeah, God, I remember the very first social media platform I joined was called Face Party, and then Bebo, and then MySpace, and then Facebook. And I never deleted those accounts. I just morphed to the next one and forgot the password.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of just what happens. Like me.
I've jumped around so many times and changed my email. I have one company with an email, and all of a sudden I don't have that cable company or whatever anymore. And they take your email away unless you want to pay for it. I'm like, nah, forget it. I'm like, oh crap. Any of these platforms ever want to get on, they'll send you an email notification. It's like, well, I don't have that anymore. So, oh well. That stuff is now forever archived. Yeah, prepper for the ages. Now I'm imagine AI speaking through the fridge with a French accent.
Buy more cheese. That's my French accent.
I can't even do a French accent anymore.
Yeah, they are. I'm assuming it would be something to do with cheese anyway. They love cheese. They do good. They make good wine. I give them that. I mean, their wine is delicious. And if you ever go to France, I especially as an American, I don't know how many times if you've ever been to France, eat the bread. It tastes different. It tastes.
Oh, it's totally different. Don't eat bread over in the States because everything's got GMO crap in it.
I have done. It's straight because the bread in the UK is bad as well. It's bad in the UK as well, but I ate bread when I was last in the States, and I always find it strange that you guys think that's what bread is.
No, I mean I make my own bread when I make it.
I suppose.
It tastes so good.
Properly, you know what bread tastes like. But in France,
four ingredients if you include the water. That's it.
But in France, you can literally walk into any shop, buy bread right there, and it was made then. And eat it, and it tastes delicious. It's a strange thing, but I mean that's kind of
over here. There's so many chemicals in your bread. I mean, the ingredient list is like 2 pages now. For bread, it's just bad. But I don't know. But I do hear downtown Paris, they have good halal food.
I bet.
along with other major cities in Europe these days.
Mm.
Well, guys, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Yep, sounds
I'm
good because
beginning
my
to
neighbor
get
just texted me to
quite
take a walk.
tired.
All right,
Well,
thanks
it's
for
good.
having us on again, Shadow.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Shadow.
It's
That was
always a
very
pleasure to have you
sporty.
guys on.
sporty conversation this time round.
Hey, thanks for
Yeah.
making me a moderator, Alan. I'll keep an eye on your stuff from now on.
Much appreciated. I really appreciate, because, like I say, I'm terrible at moderating myself. So
Yeah, you're fine.
If you're ever there and you catch something, I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, if you're on a live stream and I'm on the live stream, oh yeah, I'll see it and
Perfect.
pop it. So, all right.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Well, bye, guys. I will see you next time, same channel.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.